Hi, my friends. Welcome to Sort of Brilliant, a show where the characters are made up and the sorting absolutely does matter. My name is Rachel.
And I'm her best friend and co-host, Lauren. Every other week, we're going to invade a fandom and determine whether your favorite character belongs in Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin.
We're the Harry Potter podcast that talks way more about any other franchise.
Here, we use the sorting structure from Harry Potter as a common language without supporting the author or her beliefs. As for the sorting itself, there's bound to be some arguments along the way.
But in the end, we're always right.
According to us.
According to us.
Hey, Subpod listeners, Gossip Girl here, your one-stop shop into the correct house sorting of Manhattan's fabulous elite. We're here to give you the ins and outs of our favorite high school mess. Is Bea really as selfish as she seems? And who exactly is Chuck Bass? Lonely Boy's house may be an easy sort, but then where does that leave Serena? Tune in, kiddies. It's a bumpy ride. You know you love me. XOXO, Gossip Girl.
Wow, that was really good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
Thanks, man.
If I had introduced it, I was going to end it with like, I was like, hey, Upper East Siders, if you thought Voldemort was bad, wait till you meet Dan Humphrey. XOXO. Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying, if you watched Gossip Girl and you really like Dan, you're not going to like me.
I think you also need
by
to
the end of this
preemptively apologize to a specific house.
No.
No? You
No.
refuse.
I'm going to mean every word that I'm going to say. And if you do not like
clarify, it's about a specific person and not the house in general.
Okay, you can clarify. Thank you.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Isn't it so interesting that we actually have get rid of the genocide and get rid of the racism and
What an
stuff.
opening to a statement.
No, listen, because you just said it. You were like, worse than Voldemort. We have a character who is much closer to Voldemort. We have two. Closer in if they went crazy and were bad prejudiced people, they would be him. But Dan is worse, and he's not that. His worseness comes from a different motivation, his badness.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying it's really interesting.
He's a fucking
It's an
demon.
interesting case study, Rachel. No, I don't know. It calls back to what we've been saying all along, that every house has a bad person, but they all create specific types of villains.
Well, and
we've seen a villain in every house so far, I'm pretty sure, haven't we? Have we seen a Gryffindor villain yet? Have we sorted one? I know that we have one. We haven't sorted him.
Well, Sweet D's not nice.
Right, but is she a villain?
All the Sunny characters are kind of villainous.
I don't know if they're good enough to be villains. Nobody cares enough to oppose them, you know?
Gryffindor villain, Wanda went villain.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Gryffindor today is not really a hero, but we'll talk about it.
No, but she's not. They're not a villain either. Have we had a Ravenclaw villain?
You could say Doctor Strange. He has a villainous side.
If you went anywhere with him, he's more anti-hero than villain.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. The person that we're going to discuss later, that we're talking about, villains and whatever, I'm really making them sound like they're a demonic villain. Okay. I don't think I said the name.
Yes, you did. You said if anybody loves Dan Humphrey, you need to.
Anyway, so Dan, people don't all see him.
Warner was a Ravenclaw villain.
Oh, good. Okay, Warner.
We didn't even talk about him.
I don't. I think people would argue with me if I said that Dan is the villain of the show.
He is,
but he is.
He's the perpetrator. You know what? You know what makes it bad and what makes the argument is that none of these Upper East Siders deserve our protection. They don't need it. They have millions of dollars. They don't need us coming out here and being Dan was so mean to you, because they're awful to everybody and they oppress everybody. But that's what the show ends up doing in an attempt to be actually rich people are awful and only think about themselves. They actually end up turning this guy who is trying to prove that into the worst person in the world.
Yeah, they did not think this through.
No, it's almost brilliant. It's almost like they did think it through. and that's what the commentary turned into at the end. Actually rich people are people too.
It's horrible. It's a horrible. The whole thing is horrible. Sends a horrible message. It's the worst. I can't. I'm so mad at him for everything. And the way Rufus just caves, and the way Serena just caves, and the way they all cave, Nate, Chuck, Blair, like, is the least willing to, and then she caves too. And I'm like,
What do you mean by cave?
Don't understand.
What do you mean by cave?
Because at the very end, okay, so full disclosure,
like
I literally just finished watching the last episode.
Is that what you mean by caving?
And at the end, when he reveals it, they're all like, oh my God. And then Serena's like, well, if anyone has anything to like, I should be the angriest. If anyone's going to be mad, it should be me the most. And Blair's like, no, he ruined all our lives. And Nate's like, actually, we ended up pretty much where we should have been all along. Okay. And Serena's like, yeah, I pretty much get it. Like, it's fine. And Blair's like, no. And then Chuck goes, well, he did stop the blog after our accident. So, and she's like, oh, well, I guess. Okay. And they all forgive him. And then Serena marries him.
Here's the thing. I'm not sure that they, like, forgive him so much as, like, Chuck and Blair especially just allow him to continue existing.
I think,
like, he's so irrelevant.
He proved himself as one of them, and they're just like, fine.
I still think Blair's like, you're irrelevant to me, and I literally only care about Serena, which is why I occasionally need to, like, acknowledge that you exist.
Probably, most likely.
I would love to see them show up in the new Gossip Girl just to, like, see what the dynamic is 10 years later. Because they talk about
the Gossip Girl of the new Gossip Girl. I hate.
Well, yeah, the way that they've done it is like almost eviler than Dan, but like,
almost.
I
think Dan might be Satan.
Like the writers of the new Gossip Girl, I think the same writers maybe, they're like trying for that method of Gossip Girl to be evil. I think what makes Dan eviler is the fact that they were like, this is supposed to be a good thing, you know? Like
he was that friend. He was that friend. I hate it. And like, I love how they try to at the very end be like, wait, okay, we have to have like someone question it and go, what the fuck? Your sister's virginity was on there and whatever. And Rufus is like, how could you do that? He's like, whatever. Jenny was cool with it. I don't care. Like, he goes full villain in the last season. He's just straight up like, Serena, you're a needy, stupid bitch. And that's all you'll ever be, but I love you. And she's like, okay, I guess you're right. You called me pretty, so it's fine. And like, they're all, and Chuck's like, oh, well, I begrudgingly enjoyed that chapter about me and my father. Well done, Humphrey. And Blair's like, I'm fine with it, but you're still trash. Like, they're all just accepting of it. And you know why they're all accepting of it? Because they're all fucking horrible in their own way.
I was going to say, because they do bad things to each other. So, like,
all the time.
It gets to the point where they're like, it's hypocritical if we, like, say that he can't be mean to us just because he's poor. Like,
I think that was Serena's, like, entire point.
Right.
Which, okay, fine, you're making a point there. But also, Blair's like, he'll always be an outsider. And Dan's like, oh, bet. And then he goes and exposes himself as Gossip Girl. And he's just like, this is going to be my moment. I have more power than you now, Blair. Like, ugh, dog.
She's
He's
like,
a dog.
remind
He's a rat.
me where you live and what your last name is. Like,
he's such a monster. It's actually a monster.
It's actually really horrible when somebody is so bad that I start like rooting for the fact that I'm like, yeah, she is better than you because she has more money. Like, you know, like the fact that you made me do that.
I know, because Blair's straight up like, I'm better than you because of breeding.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah. You know what, Dan? She is. Fuck you, Dan. Like, these aren't things that I want to agree with.
No, and they're not things that I agree with in general life, but in this fictional television show where I'm like, actually, I do need to defend these rich high schoolers against you.
Yeah. They're all so bad. Like, they all say such horrible things, do such horrible things. They really remind me a little bit of It's Always Sunny characters. It's just that they're supposed to have hearts and souls at the end of it, and you're supposed to sympathize with them, and they're supposed to learn and grow. But they're as bad as like a Sunny character. They're ridiculous, scheming little monsters all the time to each other. So for one to be the worst of that group, you really have to be a piece of shit. And I really think he is. I really do. You know what? Some of it has to do with his house. Some of it has to do with him having a chip on his shoulder.
I think the biggest thing is that he spends the entire time doing bad things and insisting he's the best good person ever. I think that's what it is. Because all of these other,
never
with the exception of like maybe Serena, all of the other ones are like, yeah, no, we're awful people and we use our status and our money to get ahead and we manipulate others and we are totally
Dan does say that to her at the end too. He's like, you have so much power, and if you would just stop hating it, like, you could be something and not not this like pick-me-ass annoying person. She's like, huh, good point. I guess I will marry you. Like, at the end, they do all sort of come to a point of acceptance, except him. He's just like, yeah, I did it, and what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
And now I'm going to marry Serena Vanderwoodson, yeah.
Like, and they just let him, he just wins. He just wins. I don't like it. I don't like him as the reveal. It should have been Eric, or it would have made sense to be Jenny.
Too, with like all of these like writers that were his mentors that were like giving him shit because like he like wasn't doing anything and like wasn't like putting effort into it or like wasn't like doing what he needed to do to get ahead. That's the other thing too. Like these mentors were supposed to be like exposing the gross underbelly of the publishing world and like how awful it is that people like want to just write shit about each other and that's all anybody wants to consume and read or whatever. And yet I was still rooting for these mentors because I was like, you're fucking right. Dan is fucking spineless. Like he's hiding behind his computer doing all this shit to people and then like smiling to their faces and being like, actually, I'm a moral, righteous person and you're bad. And then like going home and attacking them, like cyberbullying them. Yeah.
Like he's horrible to his father and he'll say to his father like, oh, from up on your moral high horse, right, Dad? Like, okay, Dan, where do you think you fucking got it from? Because you're Rufus but on crack. Like you're horrible. Because Rufus has that in him too. Rufus is very annoying about it. He's like, oh, I'm going to chase Lily forever and then be annoyed when Lily is fucking Lily. She is who she is. Like, what? Stop. At a certain point, you want to play with these people.
Except, like...
You want to play in their world.
Like,
okay, so you have to accept what comes with it. They're horrible.
But there were quite a few times I was on Rufus's side. When Lily was like, actually, it's my money when they were married, I was like, what the fuck?
I know. No. Sometimes he's out of line. I'm telling you, I can't stand Rufus by the end of the show.
No, Lily. I was talking about Lily when she's like, actually, we're married, but it's my money. You didn't bring anything to this marriage.
Lily's a whole other fucking thing. Lily, to me, is like the second villain on the show. She's right underneath Dan. I think
she does a lot. She controls a lot.
Yeah, she does.
She's a Slytherin. Like, she is.
I guess so. Yeah. I can't. I didn't even think about it half the time because I was too busy looking at her and just being like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're for real? You're for real right now? She is.
No, she absolutely is. Especially when you like they say this a lot, but they don't show it as much as they could. But Rufus like says it like when they're like fighting, when it's really just like they're flirting. He's like, you've married like 5 men in order to amass fortune, and then you divorce them or they die, and you marry another man. Like,
yeah, and he was the one that was like the best plaything because she didn't really marry him for money. Obviously, that was the closest one she got to for love. And it's the closest we saw to her becoming humanized.
The fuck did she go back to? I don't understand how she married William again. Like, I don't get it.
I guess it was always him for her first love thing. Like, Serena goes to her first love, so does Mom. Maybe it's something with that.
No, she met Rufus. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, she met William first.
Yeah.
And she does have kids with him, so I think it goes... I think it's familiarity, whatever. Bart's dead. She's not going back to Rufus. Like, the first time I watched the show, I really thought Lily and Rufus were great.
Wives. I did too. I like them.
And
I got mad.
I didn't like him as much this time
and you know
around.
what? Well, no, I still like them. And you can clearly see that the show only breaks them up because they're like, okay, Serena, Dan, endgame. And like, it's weird and incestuous. Ignoring the fact that they share a sibling. We'll just never talk about that again. It's weird if their parents are married, which I was like,
all very weird. I think I just don't like Rufus and Lily as people, anymore upon my second viewing of the show.
I don't either.
I don't care for their coupling.
I think they fucked Rufus over, though, in the last season especially. They were just like, we don't have anything to do with anymore because he's not married to Lily, so we're just going to, do these awful things to him.
Yeah, I know. I didn't like where they took him. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. We're not sorting Rufus or Lily, although Rufus, I'd probably give him Hufflepuff. Probably. If I had to think about it. I haven't thought about the adults.
Mm-hmm.
But we are sorting Dan, Serena, Chuck, and Blair. So that's fun. We're not sorting Nate. Because Nate's just kind of there. Nate's not one of my favorite characters.
I like Nate.
I think Nate Nate.
I like his sorting. I don't know how we're going to do this if we come back. Like, what are we sorting? Like Nate, Vanessa, and Jenny? Or Georgina and Jenny and Nate? Like, that's
Georgina would be hilarious.
That's weird.
We'll put Nate in round 2. But we just couldn't get to him because he's not a heavy hitter in the way the other 4 are. They are heavy hitters. Like,
we love you, Chase Crawford.
Obviously, Serena and Blair are the 2 main characters.
Check him out, season 3 of The Boys. That's the Deep.
There you go, the Deep.
His bestie, Jensen Ackles, also of the early 2000s CW era.
Yeah, they're both really beautiful. Mm-hmm. Chuck's a heavy hitter, and obviously, Dan. You have to talk about Dan. He's fucking Gossip Girl. We have to sort him. So much happens because of him. Spoiler alert: Dan's Gossip Girl. So we'll get into it. We'll get into
a decade-old spoiler. I can't believe you did that to people.
Sorry. I'm sorry that it happened.
I am too.
That's what I'm sorry for. I'm sorry that that's what they chose to do because it should have been Georgina the entire time.
We started recording without getting the okay from Hannah. I hope our setups are okay.
We did do that. Wow. I think we're fine. Hi Hannah. We're really sorry. XOXO. You know you love me.
Gossip Girl.
Okay, so we gotta get into it. I think
bullshit
between Lauren,
to have Kristen Bell show up in the finale that way. She should have just been Gossip Girl. She should have been some nobody.
Just some random
whatever.
I know. It was so I loved seeing her talk and say it though.
Yeah, I did too.
That was great.
And I love how much respect the show has for her because Rachel asked me the other night, she was like, did Kristen do every narration on every episode? And I was like, yeah, immediately. And then I was like, I guess I better look it up. And I looked it up and like the showrunner was like, Kristen is and always will be our Gossip Girl. Like they said that during the first season and then the first run. And then when the second show popped up and they were like, we're going to do another like reboot of Gossip Girl. They were like, we can't do it without Kristen Bell voicing Gossip Girl. Like she's the whole show.
Missed opportunity to make her Gossip Girl again. Yeah. Like it's, you make me listen to the voice.
Maybe they'll end up bringing her onto the show
as a teacher. New Gossip Girl doesn't hit for me the same way old Gossip Girl does. It was good. I didn't hate it at all.
Did you finish it? I thought you didn't finish it.
It was fine.
Yeah. You should continue watching You should continue watching it because the poly relationship on that show, I love them. Yeah.
I didn't like the main character. I don't think there was something.
Oh yeah,
just the kids are just.
You can kind of ignore them. Like I only pay attention to the 3. And really, it's like 2 of the polyamorous couple that I really am into. It's just like the Chuck character and the.
I know, but you don't have Blair. Know. Like I think probably Blair's my favorite character on the show. She's also a complete asshole, but like she's the most likable asshole. I really enjoy her.
Because she owns up to it. She's like, yeah, what about it?
Sure, she owns up to it, but she doesn't fucking grow from it very much either. Sometimes she does.
She's like, what about it? This is who I am, and I am succeeding in this way.
So that's what I mean. Like with Blair, it's kind of like watching 6 seasons of the same thing. Like she just stays exactly the same.
Yeah, and
but I like fantastic. It, so I'm fine with it.
She didn't need to change.
She is who she is.
She didn't need to change. She did grow a little because she Well, let's start with Blair. She finally was like, fuck Serena. She was like, whatever. I'm just going to continue my life. And
yeah, but to the very last second, she self-sabotages. And it's really annoying as a person who likes Blair to watch Blair just fucking implode over and over and over. And it's like, stop. Why? Just relax for 2 fucking seconds.
It's not always like intentional self-sabotage. Like I understand. I know. Well, but I'm saying sometimes she does, like she makes the choice that she knows is stupid. A lot of the stuff with Chuck, it's like, I get it. I get why you are like worried about being with him because he's Chuck. Like, I get it. I get why you're concerned.
Sure. Oh, we got the okay from Hannah, guys. Don't worry. We're great. We can keep going. Yeah, I'd be pretty fucking worried if I was in love with Chuck too. But it's just like, and she's so scared of failure.
Well, no,
and she's
and I was going to say, and one of her problems with Chuck is her house. Like, she's like, she's a Slytherin. Like, I don't know who questioned that. Like, I don't know who was sitting here thinking like, oh my God, where could they possibly put Blair? She's a Slytherin.
Right.
No, one of her things with Chuck is so Slytherin. It's like, she gets to the point where she's like, I don't even know if what I feel for him is like what love is supposed to feel like. Like, she thinks she's tricked herself into it because she wants him so badly, which is it's so Slytherin to like get to the point where you're scared that you've manipulated your own mind so that you can't even trust your own feelings.
If anyone could manipulate themselves, it would be Blair, like, because she's such a schemer and she's so into manipulation as a core part of who she is.
And it's also that, like, we're never as in touch with our feelings as we should be. So because we keep them at bay so much. So then I'm like, it's totally possible that I've manipulated my feelings without like examining too closely what that meant. And now I don't realize that I've done that. That's
really, really interesting. That thoughts can work that way in someone's brain. I don't know, man. I just feel things, so I don't. Yeah, I don't get it. And
I all the time will sit down and be like, "Am I feeling this, or is my brain telling me that I should feel this when I shouldn't?"
You are your brain, though. That's so weird.
No.
Yeah, scientifically, you are. But Blair just has like
but chemicals can like trick me, and also I can trick me mentally.
Okay, all right. The Slytherin brain, everybody. Blair's got like, I don't know, 50 Tiffany blue journals where she just is writing all of her feelings down across all of her life.
Slytherin. It's crazy.
Which, that's so funny. I've never journaled once, I don't think. But I love that. She really needs to get in touch with herself because Blair's fucking crazy. I don't care. I love her, but she's fucking nutty. Like, the way she treats people is horrible, but you forgive her.
She gets results.
You forgive her because, well, okay, I'll just tell the truth. I don't know if this is very Gryffindor of me, but I forgive her because she's funny. Like, at the end of the day, she's so funny. I would love to have her on my team. I would love to have her do schemes for me against my enemies. That would be wonderful to have her as a friend.
I think you hit on it right there. It's because we only really see the people who are in her orbit, right? So the people who are her friends forgive her because she does this stuff for them on occasion because they're her people or whatever. And the people who are close to her, who are like her little minions or whatever, they have to forgive her because they're her minions and she like controls them. I have no clue what the wider I feel like the wider population of people like not in Blair's orbit are probably like scared of her and want to stay away from her. Like they don't really like her. Like they wouldn't forgive her, but they have to tolerate her.
They say it though at one point to Blair when she has one of her like meltdowns and ruins everything. They're like, Blair, it's not like people aren't like jealous of you and wanting to be like, we just don't like you.
Right.
Like you're horrible to us. So I think it's that and she knows that and she wants to rule with fear. Like she's fine with it. She doesn't need to be liked. She doesn't want to be liked.
I was going to say, she doesn't care about being liked. She does not care about insignificant people liking her. Like that doesn't matter. They don't need to like her. They need to listen to her. They need to listen to her.
You literally have to not care to behave the way she behaves. So she flat out doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks about her, except maybe Chuck. Because everyone else, she does not care. Like,
I mean, she cares about Serena, but I think she...
no, she cares about Serena, not what Serena thinks.
I think she cares about what Serena thinks when it's actually on point. I think she dismisses it a lot with the fact that Serena is ridiculous and Blair's like, who are you to talk to me? Like, she's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but Serena says like, the same thing I say a lot of the time where I'm just like, because Serena tries to stop being friends with her quite a few times too. Because Blair also is an exhausting friend. Like she's very needy. And it's that would be the reason I could not be her friend, where every little thing where she's like, it's my annual sleepover and you have to be here. Like things like that are so important to her.
But no.
And
also,
it's like
no. That became less important to her. It was important to her right at the beginning.
Age.
No, it wasn't just age. Remember at the beginning of the show, Serena was her best friend ever, and Serena just got up and went somewhere else without telling Blair.
But I'm not just talking about her in relation to Serena. I mean, in relation to people. She's so needy. She needs so much all of the time. So much attention. I was just saying,
like, the whole, like, you're not coming to my thing or whatever was
Oh, yeah, that one specific thing, sure.
No, like, multiple times. It was based on that abandonment where she was like, what the fuck, Serena? Like.
Yeah, I know, but she's very, like, I guess it stems from her father, too, and what her father did and how, like, he's part of her, he's one of her people. Her dad is important to her to the end. Although he wasn't at the wedding. But she probably wanted him there.
They probably had their own French wedding. Like, I don't even know.
Probably.
No, that was Serena's wedding. That wasn't. Oh, well, he couldn't get there. They had to get married really quickly because the cops were coming to arrest Chuck for his father's murder. And they needed the marital privilege.
He couldn't get there.
Yeah.
She just, I think, expects a lot from people. Like, too much. And I think she expects people to put up with too much because if anyone fucking talked to me the way she talks to people...
If you were Blair, I think this is exactly how she would say it to you. She'd be like, I don't expect too much from people. I expect the people that I love to love me. And this is how you need to show me that you love me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's ridiculous what she expects.
Oh, well, like with her dad, when her dad comes back the first time after he's married Ramon or whatever, and she's like, we're doing all these Christmas or Thanksgiving traditions, and like, this is the thing that I do with my dad. And my dad has suddenly left and lives in another country, and I don't see him year round. This is like one of the only times that I see him. So I want to do these things with just my dad, not with Ramon, who has taken him away from me, who I do not, I've decided I don't like him right now.
Sure.
So I get her at a lot of points where she's like, no, this is how you need to show me you love me. And I get her dad too. Her dad's like, I've married Ramon. I love Ramon. I want you to like Ramon. So we are hanging out with Ramon and I want to bring him into these traditions. Like, I get that too. But I totally get Blair being like, I sensed that you leaving the family was you not loving me. And I need you to go ice skating with me alone. Like, that's what needs to happen.
She's just, I think if you were to meet her in person and you were to be friends with her, my issue with her as a real life person would be her insecurity. Like, it's just too much. She needs too much.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And I think a lot of it stems with just being best friends with Serena Vanderwoodson. Like,
but then stop being friends with her.
She loves her.
Too bad.
She loves her. And
that's toxic as fuck.
I also think she uses Serena a lot because she sees how much people do love Serena, and she doesn't care about people loving her, but she realizes that it's a useful thing to have at points. So she's like, Serena's coming to my party, so everybody else is going to fucking come to my party, not because like they're terrified, but because Serena the it girl is there. Like,
right. No, she does. She uses it and whatever, but it's like, and I get it. If you've ever had like a friend from childhood, or if you've ever had like a family member, even like that's even more relatable to people. Someone you can't shake, and even if they're really, you find them to be toxic or you find them to make foolish decisions all the time and you can't seem to shake them. I think that's what Serena is to her. Which just drives me insane.
I mean, she does it a lot. And she is the final one to do it, like at the end of the show when because Serena like gets to that point where she like runs off and then she's like gonna marry that like doctor salesman guy, Steven, with a daughter who's like 5 years younger than her. And she's like, no, I'm too mature for you. Like, I'm not your friend anymore. And Blair's like,
no, I'm not your family. She
says. What the fuck? And Blair's like, and is like trying to get her back. But it gets to the point at the fashion show, I think. I don't know if you saw this episode, Rachel. But Blair's Blair's the last one to do it, where she's like, I'm for real. I can't talk to you anymore. I cannot. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you out of my life. And I can't remember what Serena comes back and is like, I'm so sorry. Like, awful not like
because
going
Blair
to breakfast with you on Sunday morning.
It's like,
yeah, she does. And I think we can talk because Rachel and I have talked a lot about like Blair's issues with Serena, because it is like Blair, because here's the thing too, because Blair has an eating disorder and she has gotten treatment for it by the time that the show starts. So she has gone to a psychiatrist when she needs to. She's, gone to a therapist. She's had treatment for it, and she is on the mend. She's doing better. She's not actively bulimic, like basically the entire show. But she, and you might be like, how does a Slytherin have insecurities with themselves? Because Slytherins are supposed to be so confident in themselves or whatever. And I think a lot of what Blair's is like, I don't know. Rachel and I talked about this a lot. It's like her problem with Serena is that Blair has to work so hard in order to get things, and Serena does nothing, and she gets what Blair wants without doing anything.
A lot of people recognize that. Dan hates that.
No, I'm not saying that other people don't recognize it, but it doesn't matter in the end because it still happens because her mom still lets Serena be like the model for her fashion line.
Totally. It's not fair at all. So coming from like anybody, any house, I think anyone would be annoyed about that. But I expected, and this is why I brought it to Lauren. I was like, I need to get into a Slytherin's head. I expected a Slytherin of all houses to look at that and be like, not threatened by it at all. Because it's like, you're so confident in yourself and what you can do. And Blair, yes, she works hard for everything and she schemes, or she like genuinely puts work in to get where she needs to get. But it's always like with an underlying resentment that Serena didn't have to.
Yeah.
So for me at a certain point, I'm like, then cut that off.
But I don't think it's a lack of confidence. I think it's the frustration. And also like you get tired at a certain point. Like she's working so hard to get her mom to like notice her and respect her and to just so easily be like, I want to spend time with you. And like Serena gets it like no problem. And and it's like frustrating. And like,
but you don't think it's unhealthy to keep that relationship around?
No, it is, because also like I don't like this show never really gets into like the psychosis of what Blair's like eating disorder is and what her body dysmorphia is. But Blair's like clearly says a lot that she is hot and that she thinks she's hot and like people want to look like her. And this
she knows her worth.
Yeah, and this is when she's not like, it's not like she's like, yes, I'm hot and everybody else needs to like have an eating disorder in order to look like me. It's when she's healthy and she's eating and she's like, I am hot. I'm just hot. That's just genetics. I'm hot. So like
it's just breeding.
Yeah, like I didn't get the sense that her disorder was based on like not liking how she looked. I think Blair's thing stems down to lack of control. Like
100%,
she needs to control everything, and when she gets stressed, she eats a lot, and she loses that control over how much she eats. So then she like responds, you know.
They kind of fall off on that. Like in later seasons, you don't see her doing that much. What is consistent from Blair from season 1 to season 6 is when she loses control, she implodes. And she takes everything around her down with her and herself too. But what's also extremely consistent is the bounce back from it. Like she'll sit there and lick her wounds for a second and be like, fuck, damn it. And then she gets back up and it's next episode and she's on to the next thing.
That's the thing
which is resilient and very Slytherin of her.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Blair too. Like no matter how much Serena wins, Blair always gets what she wants. Like you can take the entire like Yale thing, where, you know, Serena decides that she also wants to go to Yale for like no goddamn reason.
Well, now, wait a second. That's not entirely fair. She wasn't going to go.
She got invited. No,
she wasn't going to go, and Blair insulted her and slut-shamed her. And then she said, well, now I'm going just to spite you.
She got invited, which is why Blair insulted her.
And so Blair was angry, but why does she... Okay, so tell me this is a Slytherin.
Right.
Why does she think she can lash out that way and talk to her that way and expect her not only to stick around and be fine with it, but also... Lauren, that is the probably one situation that those 2 episodes, those Yale ones, where I don't like Blair. I actively disliked her. The only time in the whole show, because she's like, well, you're too stupid for it anyway, and also you're a whore. So try again. And don't come near me. Like, I'd also go and try to fuck your whole life up if you did that to me.
I mean, you have to go. You have to also like send like what Yale means to Blair. Like it's her dad's school, and she no longer has her dad. But also, I also think it's a sense of a Nate flashback where she doesn't want Serena anywhere near it because Serena will take it. And like she's been very, very clear that Yale is the only thing that she wants. Like it's her big goal, right? Like that's her thing.
Yes.
She wants to go to Yale. That was her thing too with Nate. I want to marry Nate. And then Serena fucked him and they cheated on her. So I'm sure that the second that Serena was like, I was invited to Yale, Blair was like, she lashed out because she was like, okay, there are so many reasons I don't want you near this. The Nate thing, how important it is to me because of my dad. Like it was fear. But Blair was like, I don't want you to come near this because you're going to take it from me without trying. Like that's, she says that to Serena so much during their fights. I think she says it in the Yale fight when they're outside the dean's house and she like throws a shoe at her. She's like, because Serena does her whole like innocent act. Like, I'm not out to take things from you, Blair. And Blair's like, no, you're not. You just get them. That's just what happens. Like, so you have to stay away. Like, why are you not understanding that I don't want you around my things? Like, I don't get it. That's what she's getting mad at.
But I agree with all of her frustration and anger in the entire situation. But where Blair loses me is keeping the connection and the way she talks to her about it. Like,
Blair speaks to her horribly. Like, but
you're that's asking
why
for it.
But I mean, that's what I think. Because Blair knows how to manipulate Serena. I think she like loses sight of that for a second. Is just like, I'm going to be the most insulting I can be in order to make her understand that I need her to back off. And then Serena responds because of the house she's in by doing what she does. But yeah, no, I think it's just fear. And just when Blair's afraid, she also just gets nasty. Like she loses that finesse. She just goes for it. Like she goes for your throat.
Like there's no grace in her when
when she gets scared. Yeah, because she does that.
She does it to everybody
all the time with Chuck too. When she gets scared that he's about to walk away, she's nasty. Like,
but it's so frustrating to watch and to like watch a Slytherin do this because I'm like, you're
better than this. I know you are.
First of all, you're better, but you're also digging your own grave. Right. You're doing that. You're saying that to Chuck. You're saying that to Serena. You're saying this to people that you're scared of. They have some kind of power over you, or they have something that you're afraid of or upset about, and you're giving them the power to then use it against you.
I think that's what it is too. It's like fear. Yeah, it's fear that they're going to figure out that they have this power over you. And you're like, and it's so funny as a Slytherin too, because like, it's so obvious that people are your people when you're a Slytherin. Like, obviously you're treating them better than other people. Yeah. Like, there's no way that they're not seeing that. But there's still some like fear in the back of your head that you're like, oh my God, they're going to use this. Like, and you just get really, really scared about it. And like, and Serena does use it in a way, because as
sometimes.
you keep, she does actively, because as you keep saying, Blair never drops her. Like, Blair will continue
drives me insane
to hang out with her in this toxic friendship.
Like, what does she do? She needs to kill your mother? Is that what she needs to do? She has to act like kill your mother and then you'll drop her? Like, come on. I don't even think that. Yeah, you're right.
I don't even think.
Killed her dad, maybe. Maybe her dad. Then maybe she'd be done.
I told you this. I think if Serena had slept with Chuck, Blair would have been done with her. 100%. Well,
yeah, and I said this has to do with Serena's house too, and we'll talk about it. Blair would Serena would fucking never.
No, she wouldn't.
When it's something real. And I don't think...
But Blair
doesn't have that,
her.
Though.
She would have destroyed her. We saw what she did to Jenny when Jenny slept with Chuck, and that was Chuck's fault.
Blair would have set her on fire. I mean, like, actually on fire. I want to talk a little bit about the Dan thing of it all. The Dan of it all.
All right, and we haven't even talked about Chuck and Blair, really.
No, but I mean, probably when we talk about Chuck, we will, because what I like about Chuck is Blair.
It's really the only redeeming thing about it.
Pretty much.
He has
some growth. Yeah. More growth than Dan.
Yes. Dan has no growth. He has regression. I'm pretty sure.
It was interesting and a little hypocritical of her to like be with Dan after she was so mad at Serena for doing that with Nate, especially because they were kids. Like, this is a very adult situation now, and she knows how Serena's going to feel about it, and she knows it's crossing a line. Like, that's why she's so tentative about it. Like, she is worried about it.
I disagree.
I don't get it.
No,
I don't get why she would do it.
I think there's... Are you saying hypocritical because of how she made fun of Serena for dating Blair?
I think that's part of it, but also hypocritical because she was so disgusted with Serena for doing that with Nate.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's growth, first of all, in the Dan thing. I think she does have some genuine growth where she's like, Dan is a person, even though he doesn't have money. Like,
absolutely. She grows through Dan a little.
Yeah. So I think that's like the lack of hypocrisy on that point. I don't think it's really hypocritical for her to realize that Dan is
Lauren,
actually...
She goes back to calling him a piece of shit scumbag after.
Well, what does Dan do to her after they break up, Rachel? Yeah. Like, the second they break up.
No, I would never disagree with her. He is a piece of shit scumbag, but I'm like, she grows and then...
She's not calling him a piece of shit just because he's poor. She's calling him a piece of... So...
Yeah,
so there is growth. Yeah. No, and that's the other thing. I'm pretty sure that Blair brings this up to Serena because she is super hesitant about telling Serena, but then I also think she asks for Serena's permission and Serena gives it. So Serena and Dan haven't dated for like 5 years at this point. Serena has dated like 4 or 5 other men in between. Dan has had other girlfriends. He dated Hillary Duff for a while, which is not something that should have happened. Like Dan has had so many other girlfriends. And I think Blair brings it up to her that, like, not only did you cheat on me with Nate, who was somebody that I, like, deeply loved and wanted to marry, even though that, like, wasn't necessarily true. Blair thought it at the time. Even though she's like, you cheated on me with Nate. You didn't tell me about it. You came back and continued to not want to tell me about it. Nate was the one who told me. And then you dated Nate. Like, and kind of there was like a period where, like, Blair and Nate were like trying to get back to, like Nate first, his family was like, you have to date Blair. So Nate was like, okay. And then Blair realized it and was like, I'm not doing this. And then she was into Chuck, and then that made her super hot to Nate. So then Nate really did want to date her.
They really do all just pass each other around. It's really ridiculous.
It was like a whole thing. But there was like a period where they were like, the show was toying with maybe Blair and Nate will get back together.
Yes.
But then Serena like dated him seriously, and there was the whole Dan or Nate thing. But like I did not see it as hypocrisy on Blair's fault. I was totally on her side that she was like, you did all of this with Nate and I was fine with it. Like, I said it was okay. I gave you my blessing, even though I was extremely hurt. Like, I got over the hurt. I forgave you. And I said it was fine that you dated him. And I just need you to say that it's okay for me to date Dan, a man that you literally have not looked at romantically in 5 years. Like, I don't see any problem with that at all, especially when you're right. They are all like passing each other around.
They are. And she had like fucked Dan like a few weeks before. Like they are constantly in each other's orbits, Dan and Serena. It's like if you've ever had that person that you're dating that like you always go back to, like rebound with constantly, like they're that for each other.
Oh my God. What was it? The first time that Lily and Rufus were going to get together, and then Serena, like crying to her mom, was like, I'm going to marry Dan, so you can't date Rufus. And they broke up like an episode later.
She's like, it might not be forever, but it feels like it is right now, so you can't.
And then they break up an episode later.
It's so high school. It was the first like 2 or 3 seasons I was watching.
I would never let my high school children dictate my adult dating life.
No. Well, I'd probably get guilted.
What? Oh, yeah. The house you're in. There's a movie. Is it the Freddie Prinze Jr. movie? She's All That, where like the divorced parents start dating. Like right at the end of the movie, they're like, "Oh, I'm dating." I don't remember. There's some teen movie where like the teens get together and then the divorced parents are like, "Oh, we're dating too." And I remember
they do that
the parents were like, "Yeah," and the parents were like, "Yeah, we're not letting your child relationship dictate our."
Also, why are y'all all shitting on Jenny for fucking Chuck when Serena's constantly fucking Dan? They're like, and Jenny was doing it with her stepbrother. Like, not even. It's not even. They're like so
they only did it once.
Related
and
from each other. Not even by marriage.
No, and I don't like that whole situation. I don't really blame either one of them. Chuck was really sad, and I don't think he did it impulsively either. Like Jenny came and was like, I want to do it. And she also told him that she wasn't a virgin because she was like, yeah, I've been having sex with Damien. And
what the fuck is wrong with Jenny Humphrey? I can't stand her. So stupid.
I don't remember why she did that. Was it just because he was so sad? Or like...
Yeah, she was sad about Damien. She was sad about like everything. She wanted Nate, remember? And Nate still wanted Serena.
Oh, later on, Dan says she wanted to be kicked off the island too. So, fuck her. Yeah, that was manipulative. She knew Blair would retaliate. Yeah.
It was so stupid. Of all the men.
Well, no, that's
and also like how little self-respect. That's gross.
Yeah, okay, but then can I tell you how mad I got at everybody for blaming Chuck for it, and also because of the thing that happened in season 1 where he assaulted her, which was very bad.
Okay, and I got mad at people for it, but also like he knows there are certain people Blair cannot get over. Like if you cross that line, Vanessa would be hard but doable.
No. I was getting upset at Rufus being like Chuck is some sort of awful, evil, horrible person who like took advantage of Jenny.
Dad.
Yeah, no, I was.
But yeah, no, Lauren, I'm telling you, I was sick of Rufus by the end too. He's so self-righteous.
It's really hard because Chuck did assault her and it was really bad. But like after season 1, they didn't really do that with him again. Like it was consensual from that point on.
And he apologizes for it over and over and over.
And he
says,
also,
like,
I think, through actions is like.
But you have to through actions, or it's.
Well,
like
yeah, but I think he is like he does show that he's like not, especially once he starts dating Blair. Blair does like they have all this stuff in the show where they're like. Blair and Chuck together actually make each other worse. Like Blair says that. And I'm like, you've made Chuck way better than he was. Like, I don't know.
Well, I also think, I think they make each other better.
Because also what happens is like they turn that stuff on each other. Like I think Blair's problem is like with the French girl and what she does to her and like scares her away from Chuck or whatever. And like,
I can't even begin with, I have to talk about that with Chuck, but yeah.
But Blair's like, we do these awful things to each other to hurt each other. And I'm like, yeah, but Blair, you're like forcing each other to grow through these awful things. And you're also not hurting the people around you when you're doing it to each other. So
they're so fucking funny together. And she's so Slytherin the entire relationship. And so, which is funny, like going into Chuck's house, because they are very much that house pairing what his house is and what hers is together. Yeah. Like it's like, to the 1000th degree, they are that together. She's just extremely Slytherin, down to like in everything she wants and everything she does. Maybe Slytherins have a paradox the way Gryffindors do,
where
the fear of failure
causes you to fail.
Extreme confidence that you have at the same time.
No, I don't think that's a paradox necessarily. It's
a little. Blair's a little paradoxical to me.
Because I think those feed into each other. Because I think you're extremely confident in yourself, but if you've demonstrably, how do you say that word?
Demonstrably.
Demonstrably. You have to say monster. Demonstrably. If you've demonstrably failed, you're going to have a fear about it. Even though you're extremely confident in yourself, you're going to be like, what if it happens again? What if it happens again? Like, it's going to be this thing in the back of your head. I don't really see that as paradoxical.
Okay, then it's crazy.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing, too. I think that the fear of failure drives her to be so confident in herself.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I am so afraid of failing that I overcompensate and I do this thing really well and then I never fail.
Yeah, but the constant fear of it, like, really holds her back from being her highest potential over and over again. She just self-sabotages so much.
Yeah, but then she brings much. That's the thing. That's the thing too that's so funny about Blair and which I love about Slytherins is she does self-sabotage, but she like still brings it back. Like she always gets what she wants. She has to go a longer route because she self-sabotages in the middle. Like she could get it much easier. Yeah, but it's also TV and it makes it entertaining. That's why they're doing it.
I know. So by season 6, I was like, Blair, enough, please. I can't. We're at the last 3 episodes and you're still like, just stop. But she does in the end get what she wants. She knows what she's entitled to. She knows what she's worth. Which is always fantastic to see in a female character. I really love her as a female character.
I have her Funko Pop figure. I really like her.
Yeah. The parts of her that I don't like are also very Slytherin parts. Just like the insulting. The fact that the insults come so naturally. It's like she's constantly sitting on them because
also her insults are all very like I am better based. Like it used to be because like Gossip Girl brings this up. Like Blair was like the virginal queen, right? She was waiting to have sex with Nate, and then like Nate was the only person she was gonna have sex with because she was gonna marry with or whatever. And then that doesn't work out. And Blair has sex with quite a few other people, like Chuck and here's the thing about this show too, early 2000s, right? Like she does get called a whore for at one point for like having sex with Chuck and Nate on the same night, I think is what happens. Yeah. So she gets called a whore for that. And I'm like, what? She can have sex with whoever she wants, like whatever. But she does when she calls Serena a whore, it's like from the mindset of like, I don't sleep around, even though she has done her own share of like sleeping around, if that's what you want to call it. But it's like all of Blair's insults are from the mindset of like, this is how I'm better than you in some way. Like, I don't, and it's never true, but that's how she thinks.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't like it. If I have to find something, like if I have to say one thing I don't like about her,
you say you don't like it. They're bad people.
I don't like it at all. No, because it's a very Slytherin way of doing it too.
Yeah.
Like you see it in other Slytherin characters too. It's like, okay, so you really are just sitting there constantly thinking the worst of the people that you love and then claiming to be like, but I die for them. I will die for them in a second. But like you're constantly looking at the bad parts. It's wild.
No, that's not what she's doing. She doesn't like constantly focus on the bad parts. She just catalogs them.
But it's in her head.
Yeah, she catalogs them and uses them when she needs to.
I think that's horrible.
You just forget the bad things about the people you love? You forget the bad things they've ever done?
I don't forget about it, but I don't actively think like horrible things about them. So
I don't think she's actively thinking horrible things about them. She's just bringing it out when
she brings them timely. Up so much. Even when she's talking about people in reference to other people, she'd be like, yeah, well, Serena could never do that because she's stupid. Or like, well, Dan could never because he's just Brooklyn trash. Like it's always simmering there.
But usually when she says that, it's in relation to like, this is how I can do it better.
It is. But it's like, but why do you need to punch down to bringing yourself back up? Like you're so scared of not being as amazing as you say you are. It's wild. I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't think she's constantly like thinking bad things about them. Like
no, I think it's just to her, it's a matter of fact. Like you're dumb, you're stupid, you're worthless. Like just
like in Serena's case, I get why she's so frustrated with that Because Blair actively so many times tries to help Serena, like with the whole trip thing. And oh my God, that was so frustrating that Serena's like coming to her like, I don't want to have this man cheat on his wife. Can you keep me away from him? And then she like goes to be with Trip privately in his office, and Blair shows up and is like, Serena, let's go home. And Serena's like, no, I'm fine. And Blair's like, right. You told me to bring you home. Let's go home. And Serena's like, Blair, I'm not going to do anything. And Blair's like, yeah, you are. You just had a 20-minute conversation with me, begging me not to let you be with this man because you're going to do something with him. Like, what?
It's just very much like watching a Disney villain have friends.
I think
it's very that to me.
I think that's the thing too. I think that's the thing because all of these characters like tell this to Blair about themselves. Like Serena tells her, I cannot stay away from these men. And so I think half the time when Blair says this stuff, she's just reminding them, like, this is what you've told me about yourself.
Serena does get sick of it sometimes, though. Like she really will be like, I don't know why I have to fucking put up with this from you. And Serena even threw in her face at one point. She's like, and so she was talking to someone else about Blair, and she's like, I don't get why she's still my friend if she feels that way. And I don't get why that's fair on me. She's like, yeah, I'm a fuck up. But what does it say about Blair that she's still constantly like throwing that at me and still here? Like, maybe I don't want to deal with that.
And Serena's still there too, though. Like, talk about Blair. Why are you still friends with Serena? Why is Serena still friends with Blair?
Back and forth toxicity. It's wild. And we can talk about, so we can get into Serena next too, because I think you could either go Serena or Chuck equally, because they're like the two great loves of her life. Because we're going to save Dan for last, because it's such a piece of garbage.
This thing's going to be 2 hours. We just spent an hour talking about Blair.
Well, she deserves it. Okay, Serena or Chuck?
I thought you were choosing.
I don't want to choose. I want you to choose.
Oh, why are you making me choose? I thought you were going to Serena. That sounded like a Serena
Okay, fine. I'm going to go into Serena then. So Serena is really, really interesting because I don't think she's an obvious house choice for like the lay person.
She's extremely obvious to me. Sort of her immediately.
She's also extremely obvious to me too, because a lot of the traits are recognizable. But I don't think someone would look at her automatically and go Gryffindor, which is what she is.
I like how you clucked so people could know that you were snapping.
Yeah, I did. I wanted you guys to hear.
Can you snap? I can't snap. I can't snap.
So she. Okay, I want to break this down for people because I don't think on the surface you'd immediately jump at Gryffindor. I think many people would probably say like Slytherin because she's selfish and whatever, and she's like low-key manipulative. I think if you run a poll, I am going to run a poll.
I would put her in Hufflepuff
when this episode comes out. I want to see what people. Yeah, but Lauren, no, because people don't understand fucking Hufflepuffs. It's not just me.
No, but Serena's supposed to be like the good. Like I don't know. Like you think the common watcher, but the show is like that's who she is. Like she's like the good to Blair's bad. That's what the show frames.
You think that's what the show is doing?
That's what the show actively frames.
Serena's a fucking monster sometimes. But I will tell you this. When Serena's being a bitch, that's my favorite Serena. I don't like the little lost lamb act that she puts on where she's like, I just like don't get it. Why everyone just loves me. I don't like it. When she comes back and she steals the spot on the steps from Blair, and she like condescendingly fixes her hair and she's like, we'll just get you some yogurt then, girls. Like immediately takes over and Blair's so pissed. I'm like, okay, I can see how you would be like queen shit. Like you could take over in a second. Just lay into it, but no. Serena has to be like, but I see the good in everybody, and every boy deserves a chance, and every boy deserves a chance to love me and have me on their arm. That's what they deserve.
All do
and
love
I do too,
me
because I deserve a daddy. Like that's it. That's Serena. Serena is the textbook daddy issue princess, which is horrible. I hate it. Where I love what Blair represents as a female character, I hate what they represent in Serena as a female character because they don't stop with making it's daddy issues. It's totally daddy issues. The fucking last episode of the show, or like the second to last, Dan is like, yeah, you're like a golden-haired goddess with daddy issues and you're really easy to manipulate because like we just know what buttons to push and it's great and I love you, so you're gonna forgive me because of your daddy issues. And she's like, no, I'm getting on a plane. Uh-oh, you left me an envelope with a special note. Coming back, gotta find out more. I know there's good in you. I just know it. Like, why? For the love of God, why? I don't understand a single thing. Like, I get her, and I can follow her sometimes, but the way she throws herself into every relationship, like it's what her mother says. She proves her mother right by the end. Her mom says,
she does.
You don't have relationships, you have lifeboats. That's what you do. You cling. She clings to them for dear fucking life.
It's what Lily does too. So like, I don't.
It is. She learned it from her mother.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she was right, because she recognized it in herself.
Yeah, because Lily had daddy issues too. You remember the one episode that?
Oh yeah, huge. They're very. It's very like mother like daughter over there. But the trip one really threw me off. Really, because it was based on nothing. Nothing. She's like, well, I kind of had a crush on him, and now I'm in love with him, and I'm going to marry him. Serena, why?
I think, like, I hate to say this, but I think any time Serena, and it's disgusting because it wasn't even a challenge. Like, it wasn't even hard to make Trip leave his wife. But anytime Serena comes up on something that looks like it could be a challenge, because she doesn't get challenged. She does not get challenged. Serena doesn't even want something, and she gets it. Like, she's not even actively wanting or searching for this thing, and it falls into her lap. And that's what pisses Blair off so much. Like, Blair can't stand it. But also, I have to respect Blair because she knows this about Serena, and she lives with it. And like I said, she also uses it a lot. She's like, Serena, I want this thing, and I don't really have the time. So can you just go make it happen?
Right.
Because you don't have to do shit. So, but no, I think she was hoping for a challenge because that ended so quickly too, right? Like, they got in the car accident and Serena's like, I'm over it. Trip's like, I'm going to leave my wife. I'm going to end my congressional career. And Serena's like, I'm done with this now.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And okay, so much of Serena's issues stem from Gryffindor traits. So Serena does not want responsibility. Fucking all. No. She doesn't want school. She doesn't want. She talks about these hypothetical children she's gonna have in the future. She does not want kids. She doesn't want to be responsible for fucking anything. And why should she have to be?
I mean, I was gonna say I could picture her being a Lily mom because Lily's not responsible for her kids.
But let me just say, at a certain point, I'm gonna stop blaming Serena for being Serena.
Lily makes her kids somebody else's responsibility. She puts her suicidal child in a.
I'm telling you, number 2 villain of the show. She's number 2. At a certain point, I stop blaming Serena for her own actions. I do. Because I'm going to tell you what. She's been trained, to expect everything because everyone gives it to her.
She's been conditioned.
And at the end of the fucking day,
that's what her life is.
All Lily had to do was cut her off.
Yeah.
Monetarily. Yeah. And Serena would have had to stop running off to wherever the fuck she runs off to get drugs or to get a man or whatever. Just cut her off.
I don't know, because she goes off with Carter I guess Carter didn't have money. No, because I don't think cutting her off would have worked, because she would have found a man who had money and would have brought her.
She's such a Captain fucking Save-A-Ho. Every boy that's a little bit dark, has a little bit of a dark side, she's like,
she's very, I can fix him. She's a very, I can't even, I can't yell at her for that because I'm that way. But...
My God.
She is.
I respect her so much more if she's just doing it to be worshipped. She's not.
She's not. No. And I come at it logically. Logically, I can manipulate, I can fix. Like how Blair does with Chuck, where she's like, I can make this a little better. Serena is just by virtue of being in my presence, it will be fixed. It's.
But she does it. She fixes so much about some of these dudes. She
doesn't do anything.
Prison man.
What does she do to Carter?
Prison man. No, she fixes
name?
Prison Man.
Yeah, does she?
Yeah, she does.
No. I want to say here that there was nothing wrong with him in the first place. Serena ruined his life.
But I mean, by the end, a lot of his shitty traits and whatever, she's like, by virtue of my believing in you, look at how you've ascended. And he's like, you're right. And she's right. Nate chases her forever. Dan chases her forever. I
have to say, I am a little when we do eventually get to sort Nate, because I think Nate has a lot of growth. And I think one of his points of growth is right there, where he's when it's him and Dan and Serena's I can't make the choice. And Nate is finally Serena, I'm done. And he never goes back. Serena at one point, I think is Nate's looking a little hot again. And he never is I see you as romantic prospect again. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, at some point it does end. Obviously they don't go.
I think it's at that point where they're in the masquerade ball and they're like, Serena, who is it? And she's
no, that's not the point, because he goes back and forth again after that. He tries again after that.
No, doesn't the whole thing with Jenny and Vanessa start?
That's
because Jenny's dressed like her at the masquerade ball.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's Juliet. Yeah. That's when, but then again, like, he's so angry at Serena, but then oh my God, it's not Serena's fault. Juliet drugged her. By the end, but Nate's back in her clutches.
That's the whole thing too. That's the show is so hard because that's one of the things that Dan gets mad at Serena about. He's like, Serena, you do so much bad shit. Like, you do shit. Like, you cause things to happen. Like, you do. You cause bad things to happen. And he's like, and you've always got this excuse, like, oh, it wasn't my fault. I was drugged, or Georgina got me. And like, all of this stuff is true, but also half the time it's not. Half the time it is just her going like, I don't know what happened. Like, I just happened to be there and I kissed him and I don't know why I kissed him. And you're like, Serena, what?
Oh my God. It's so funny. Like, I hate Dan so much, but so much of the time Dan says what I'm thinking because he'll look at her and just be like, what do you mean? Oh, you're into the guy. Okay, we'll go be into him then. Like, so
like, I don't want to deal with it. And like, and also Dan has this other thing, which we'll talk about when we get to Dan. Like, it's a whole other issue, but he wasn't wrong. Where he was like, he had this a little bit with Nate too, because he's friends with Nate. Where he's like, things happen for you because you were pretty and you have money. And Serena's like, what are you talking about? No, they don't. And then they're fucking sitting in that elevator, and she's like, should have said my name. And it's like, I'm gonna fucking strangle you. I'm gonna strangle you. You cannot come to me and be like, things don't happen for me just because I'm rich, and then you're like telling me to say your fucking name to the elevator operator who says there's literally nothing that can be done.
That's so fucking funny and true. But like, I told Lauren this. I think Nate is the male Serena in so many ways. Yeah. That he has more growth by the end of the show than she does. Mm-hmm. But he is so much like her. At one point, he's talking to Blair. They're like at fucking Yale, and he's like, I used to feel bad for having money and being beautiful. I used to feel like I didn't deserve it, but now, you know what? You just accept it.
Blair's fucking response is like, why? Why would you ever feel that way?
I know. Oh, they're so funny. I can't. They're ridiculous. But I think everyone admits these things about themselves except Serena. Yes. Serena actually wants to believe that
she doesn't have privilege.
She's not.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not privileged. Right. I'm not privileged.
She doesn't say that.
No, she doesn't.
She just
that's very
doesn't
her attitude.
Admit her.
That's very her attitude. She's like, yeah, I'm pretty and I'm rich.
What?
No. This is exactly. She's like, yeah, I'm gorgeous and rich, but like, that's not why things happen for me. Things happen for me because, you know, like, I am good. I'm a good person. And you put out and you get what you put out. And you're like, no, Serena, things happen for you because you're pretty and rich.
Mm-hmm. She has the most pretty privilege of a character I think I've ever fucking seen. Like, Blair can't handle it. She's just like, well, maybe the sun doesn't shine out of my fucking ass and hair follicles like some people. Like, maybe I'm not every male's fantasy. Like, she can't, because it's true. Serena, like, she knows it. She knows it's true. She just won't admit it because she uses it when she needs to.
Yeah.
I want dad's attention, so I'm going to run off on the horse with my beautiful golden locks flailing behind me. Like,
she falls into this whole like existential crisis too, right? When it's like the whole Brown thing, and then I'm going to take a year off, and then I'm like, she's like, Mom, I want to figure out my life. I want to actually earn something. And her mother's like,
no, you don't.
Her mother's getting, she falls into this existential. She does not want to admit to herself that she's never earned something a day in her life. And like the most frustrating thing is that she goes off on these active like quests, like to find herself and to earn something. And she continues to not earn things. Like, she just falls into them. Like, she gets that movie production job, like, because some guy stops her on the like street because she's pretty and asks her a question about the book he's reading. And then she's like, oh, I love that book because, you know, I'm like a pick-me girl. And then the guy's fucking boss shows up and is like, you're hired. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
In some ways.
Yeah. And like,
I respect it.
Right. Like, yeah. Like, you, like can you imagine if Blair was in Serena's body? Like, she'd be unstoppable.
Take over the entire fucking world. Yeah. Like, and it's just wild because I think Blair is beautiful.
I do too.
But the thing with Serena is she doesn't have the work ethic of Blair. She doesn't have the same wants or needs. Like, she's not driven by the same things at all. She doesn't need to be a powerful woman. She doesn't need to she doesn't actively seek power. She's looking for connection with someone. She's looking for love, to be loved. That's her whole thing. It's to be loved. That's Serena's entire journey.
She wants to be loved. She wants to be loved.
And so it makes complete sense that she ends up with Dan.
Start, like,
complete.
Yeah, and she does start freaking out when she's like, I think when it's too easy for you, she gets freaked out because she's like, oh my God, it's not really like, because it was too easy. So like, you're just like,
well, she also is a runner.
Yeah.
Like in fight or flight, she's not like Blair's a fighter.
Yeah.
Serena's a runner.
Yeah.
Serena doesn't want to deal with it. It's responsibility. It's owning up to who you are, to where you fucked up. And sometimes she does, but in the next episode, she's fucking up again. So it's hard because I think the most I rooted for her was in the first season or two, where she really was with Dan and she really was trying
to make it work. Yeah. Really. I liked her then. Yeah. And she was trying with Blair. Like Blair was still pissy at her because
she was.
Serena just ran. She thought she killed that man because she gave him a snort of coke. And so she ran.
When her and Dan break up that she starts to go downhill. So she does, unfortunately, she's one of these people where she's not insecure, but she's afraid she's unlovable. She's afraid, like, all I am is my face, all I am is my body, all I am is my money.
Here's the other thing about Serena, too, is that she wants to not be helpless, but she immediately falls into that role. Like, the rest of the group rallies around her constantly because she's being attacked by Georgina or, like something else has happened. She like disappeared. Yeah. She like, Dan won't talk to her. Like
perpetually a damsel.
Yeah. She won't. And it's the thing again, like she does not want to take on responsibility. Like she would not tell anybody that she thought she had killed that man because she's like, I don't want the responsibility of like this being said out loud and like whatever happens next.
Yeah, and I don't want people to look at me different.
Yeah, and like whatever happens next happening or whatever. And then they're like, Serena, that was like, you could have told us all this like 2 years ago and we could have avoided so much shit. Like, like what?
I do have to say that Serena and Dan together makes the most sense to me from Serena's vantage, like from her perspective, because Dan is actually the only one who knows her. Yeah. He's the only one. Like, she can't romantically be with Blair, the other person who really knows her. It's got to be Dan. Dan flat out says to her at the end, you're fucking stupid, you're privileged, you're beautiful and you know it, and you don't use it correctly. You're like dumb all the time with certain things, and you go from guy to guy to guy.
We should clarify that, like, when we're saying stupid, we don't mean like she's not a smart person. She's very smart. She just like
she just makes dumb decisions.
She just doesn't act.
Serena fucking knows better. That's why she's so frustrating, because she is that smart. She could be right where Blair is if she wanted to. She could be. She could run an empire. She could run something. Like, she could be in control. She doesn't want it. She always takes positions where someone is her boss.
Like, she got into Yale. She got into Brown. Like, and that was all on privilege. But like, and then she got into Columbia.
She could do it. Like, and she has style. She has taste. She knows what she's doing in certain areas of the world. She does. And still, she always wants to play second fiddle to a guy. Like, it's frustrating. She always...
Actually, and this is like so sad, like one of the most pathetic things was Serena like actively trying to get attention so her dad like noticed her in the world or whatever. Yeah. But she knows how to manipulate the press. Like, she could be like...
That's Blair, what I said about the horse and shit.
No, like Blair has been training her whole life to be royalty, right? Like, Blair can be royalty. But Serena has that aspect around her as well, in that like she... Here's the difference that the show was making between Blair and Serena too, and I think like why they let Blair insult her the way that she did. Because Blair, like Blair's whole thing was like old money, like correct richness, like elegance or whatever, and Serena was like trashy new Hollywood. She like
low Hannah-fied her.
Like yeah. So like, but that's what Serena was good at. Serena could have been. Like, she could be
PR.
Yeah, PR, like a celebrity. If the show was made today, like they do that in the new Gossip Girl. Like, the main girl is a like it girl, like social media influencer. Like, that would have been Serena.
That's Serena. Yeah.
She knows how to manipulate.
But the thing is, she acts like she doesn't want it sometimes. But then she will like smile for the paparazzi and be like, oh no, my dress fell, like when she needs something done. But then she goes to Steven. She wants to be on Steven's arm. She wants to play mom to this kid. Or she's running to Tripp. She wants to be his new wife. She wants to be his trophy wife and be like a senator's wife. Or it's so disgusting that they actually write it this way. She literally is just looking for a dad. Always. She's looking to fill a daddy-sized hole. It's so frustrating that they make it so obvious. It's like, it's misogynistic. It's annoying. It fucking annoys me. Because she doesn't need to do it. She doesn't need to be second in command to anybody. And she's always like, how can I fix him? How can I fix him? How can you fix you, bitch? Go fucking fix you and come back and be powerful and use all the amazing assets and qualities that you have that everyone hates and make them eat it.
You know what? That's what she did when she was Gossip Girl for that little bit of time. That's what she was trying to do. And she just was nasty. Like, that's like...
I know. I know. But she does need to end up with Dan because Dan sees her, Dan gets her. And I think he will make her better because she's not playing a role when she's with him. She's not trying to fit into the mold of what this another man wants. She's not trying to be a wife, senator's wife, a scholar, whatever of the hats that Serena wears when she's with a dude. She's not wearing any of them with Dan. She does want to eat pizza and drink beer with him in Brooklyn. She's always been that girl. She always has just wanted to be low-key with him and not have this. She doesn't want to live the Lily life where she's like high rolling with Bart wherever the fuck they go. She really just wants to be in real love with someone. But she can't be until she knows they really do love her and see her, or she's going to go into a Lily cycle. She's going to have 7 husbands down the line. So I'm glad they stopped it with Dan. I hate Dan, but I think it's a good match, weirdly. Because I don't always like Serena either.
Yeah, I mean, and as much as I didn't like Jenny, I thought Serena and Jenny had a pretty good relationship, to be totally honest.
Until they didn't.
Jenny got her drugged in a hotel. Actively fucked that up, so...
Jenny fucks everything up. I don't like little J. I don't like any of the Humphreys. I think the entire show would have been better. Your entire world would have been better without the Humphreys.
It wouldn't have been really a show. There would have been no conflict.
No, you needed them, those little shitsters. But yeah, she's a Gryffindor, not for any of the like stereotypical reasons. No. She's a Gryffindor for a lot of the negative ones. She reminds me a lot of Sweet D if Sweet D was normal. Just rich. Like the hopping from person to person, the need for validation, attention. People around her being like, "Oh my God, stop! You have to stop." And also, if Sweet D was actually good
at things, like Serena, and also if Sweet D was actually good at things, like
yes, yeah, she would be very, very like that. But you know, she gets abused and kicked a lot more than Serena does. Serena always just has people coming to her rescue, and until they stop, she's never going to grow up. I bet right now Serena's out there not grown up.
I would really like to see. I really want to see.
Me too. I would love that. But I don't know how they kept writing certain storylines and they weren't like, people are going to get so sick of seeing Serena with a new guy. Because I could not stand it at a certain point. The trip thing started it for me where I was just like, you serious? Like, y'all really wrote this?
What I couldn't believe was the guy that she sent to prison, and not because there was anything wrong with him, because he was a good guy who was falsely accused. I was like, how are you dating this man after you did this to him? How are you? How?
Because she felt responsible. Like, when she does feel responsible for something that's true.
She was like, he's not able to find a job because he's like, you know, and this man is like, you need to leave me alone. Like, and she gets him to date her.
They don't ever have to prove themselves to her. She just immediately wants to see the good. Like Blair said this. She's like, Serena wants to see the good in everyone. She believes there's good in everybody. I see the truth. Yeah. And it's true. Serena really wants to believe everybody is a good person or a person of value. Whereas Blair is like, no one has value. I am more valuable than all of you.
Anything. There is no value to you.
It's so bad because it's not believable. At a certain point, it's like you are a caricature of a human being, that you are on this like 8th guy that you barely know, but he's your next great love. Like it was the dean of the school. It was Ben from jail. It was Tripp the senator.
I can't with Steven. It was that Steven. You just show up in this new season and she's just like, yeah, I'm going to marry this man. And you're like, who the fuck is he?
I couldn't believe it. I could not fucking believe it. And you notice how much it hurt her when Gossip Girl was like, Serena's irrelevant now. We don't care. She's dead to us. That's what hurts her most. Because she's like, now I'm really not loved because I'm getting so much validation from Gossip Girl and from my little like lackeys around the world. Now nobody loves me.
That's the thing I can't stand about Serena too. She does that thing a little bit where like, you know, like people are upset about Gossip Girl or like she's explaining it to a new person like Hilary Duff's character or whatever, Vanessa, and she's like, oh yeah, like, you know, Gossip Girl always writes about me. And like, you know, I just like, you're like, this means so much to you, Serena. Like, you know, it does. Yeah. Like, and she makes such a big deal about how like the first, like people mentioned it a couple times. They're like, the first ever Gossip Girl post was about you. She's like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Like, she, like clearly
of course she ends up with Gossip Girl. It's like a 6-year-long letter to Serena Vanderwoodson. So of course.
Well, they make a point of saying that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Gossip Girl was created.
So far, we've got Blair who needs to be feared and needs to have power. We've got Serena who needs to be loved, and then we've got Chuck who needs to beat his daddy.
Yes,
that's Chuck's one great need. to a point where I really think he's as much of a dumbass as Serena sometimes with the decisions that he makes. Like, can you fucking get over it? Get over it. I can't at a certain point. Blair, I can't be with you until I beat my father. Blair, I need to vanquish my father.
I need to find my mother. I need to know who I am.
Oh my God. The parental issues this man has. You'd think he's a Gryffindor. But no. It's like next fucking level.
No, it's
everything is about his parents.
And I think it's because Chuck, he puts so much stock. So here's the thing about Chuck. Chuck is very confident in who he is, and he's confident that he's an evil person. So he is like, I need to know who my parents are. Yeah, exactly. So he's like, I need to know who my parents are, and maybe if my like he starts with his mom. He's like, I didn't know my mom. My dad hated me my whole life because supposedly I killed my mom. If I understood my mom, and if my mom was a good person, maybe I have some good person in me, and I can actually be that good part of me. So like that's what he's doing. And then like his dad like dies tragically, and Chuck's like, maybe I never really knew him because we never got to hang out, because Chuck's always trying to like hang out with him, and his dad's always like throwing it back in his face like, you're a shit person.
I don't want to go to hockey with you fucking idiot.
And so Chuck's like, well, he keeps telling me I'm a shit person, and I'm confident that I'm a shit person, so perhaps I am a shit person. But then his dad like dies tragically, and he's like, I never really got to spend time with my dad or speak to my dad. It's like the whole illusion of like death or whatever. Like people become greater in death, because you have like all these like backwards.
I know, but he was making him pretty great while he was alive too. It's annoying.
But so he's like, so maybe my dad was good, and I just didn't like give him a chance. I didn't get to speak to him enough. So then his dad comes back from death or whatever, and Chuck's like, now I have a chance to like, I've done some great things with the business. That's what he always wanted. He thinks that's good. So he'll tell me I'm good, and that will make me like have more confidence in myself as a good person. And it's like, I think that's what it is about Chuck. He is extremely confident in who he is. He thinks he's shit.
Yeah. His tagline is I'm Chuck Bass. Yes. Because like that's it. So he's a Slytherin.
Yes.
I think that's like even more obvious than Blair.
I do too. And they're Slytherin, so that like the like
they're
you
so
think
funny.
like you just said that like you'd think that the viewers would get pissed at like Serena being with another guy every season or whatever. I don't think you could have had a non-Slytherin couple and have been okay with the amount of like flip-flopping that they do, where like Blair's ready for the relationship, but Chuck isn't. Now Chuck's really so much. Like they do it all 6 seasons. Like that's all it is that like they're never so ready brilliant. At the same time.
It's so brilliant because they don't do like TV shows usually do the will they, won't they? Like it's the Ross and Rachel effect that I think a lot of shows got caught up in, where they deliberately keep characters apart because they don't know how to write them as interesting together. You don't have that problem.
No,
with
they like periodically
so
they get together for like a couple of episodes where they're like, nothing else matters, and we clearly love each other, so they're like back together, and then like inevitably it something bad happens.
It's wonderful.
It's
really
will they,
good. Won't they for like a minute, and then it's just when will they?
Yes, and it like when will they stop breaking up? It's like basically that.
When will they marry?
Yeah. No,
when will that ring be on her finger?
It was done so well. Like the whole thing that they had at the beginning, where it was a game of who will say "I love you" first, was so.
I love that so much.
It was so good too, because you were like, they both very clearly loved each other, and both of them knew that the other one loved them, but they were like, you say it first. Wait,
Lauren, no, sometimes they really didn't. Like, okay, first Slytherin, like, they're so fucking stupid. Sometimes for Slytherins, they literally, they're broken up and they get back together, and they don't get back together. They start fucking. And then they're like, I love schemes. I love drama. I love you. And she pretends he didn't hear it. Yeah. And then, like, they spend 10 episodes, the two of them, like, I have to find out if they actually do love me.
No.
What's wrong with you?
No. No. There are... They do know it each time. They start to doubt it the longer it takes for somebody to actually say it. They're like,
why do they doubt it though?
Because they're not saying it. They're like, maybe they don't actually, because they're not saying it. Like, that's wild. This issue that I have. I have that exact issue that I'm like,
oh my God, you do. Oh my God.
I start to lose confidence in myself.
That is fucking nutty. That's fucking wild. Like, it's so
I'm sorry. It's not confidence in myself. It's my confidence in my ability to read other people, because that's something that Slytherins are really good at. They're like, I can read other people. So Chuck is staring at Blair, and he's like, I know Blair loves me. And Blair is staring at Chuck, and she's like, I know Chuck loves me. It's so obvious. Everybody else is seeing it, and they know it, But the longer it takes to get them to say it, like, and they're playing games with each other, right? This is the point where they break up with each other too, is that they're always playing games. That like they love games. They're playing games. And they're like, we're together. We love each other. So we know that it's not serious. We're just playing games because we like it. But it gets to the point where the game goes on so long and nobody's winning because they're both Slytherins and they're both really good at the game. Nobody is going to win. It gets to the point where they're like, wait a minute. Is this a game, like a play game anymore? Or is this like serious? Like this is serious now. It's serious, right? And actually, I am losing confidence in my ability to read you correctly because this game has been going on so long.
And you question your own head too much.
Yeah. They start to get to the point where they're in their own head too much and they're really questioning it. And they're like, this game has not had a winner in such a long time. And they're also used to winning, right? Because they just always win.
Chuck Bass. Yeah. I need to talk to you about this French girl.
Yes. What was her name?
That was the stupidest. What's wrong with
Emily?
I don't know. She's Fleur from Harry Potter. So why in God's name does he bring this woman back and then say to Blair, says to Blair, she's the most important thing in the world to me. You took away the most important thing in the world to me. How?
It feeds back to his whole thing that we were just talking about. Remember? Because Emily was like, I'm going to look up her name. I can't keep calling her that. She was like pureness and light, right? Like she was good. So Chuck was like, when I have her, my life is good and I'm good and I can do good things. So that's like what he was saying. Cause he was like, Blair, you're toxic. And Blair was like, I know that, but we're not toxic together. Like,
it was the most bizarre thing to me.
It made me mad though, because I was like, Chuck, you can be this person without this chick. Like, it's really easy. You can do it. He was
so devastated. First of all, he dated her for like a month.
Her name was Eva.
Okay, he dated her for like a month. And first of all, was willing to give up his whole life.
She saved his life.
Was willing to give up being Chuck Bass. You have to explain it from Slytherin perspective because I don't get it as a human being. Giving up being Chuck Bass?
Because he had just lost Blair, right? Blair was about to get married to Luke.
But now he has pure love and light in his life. Like, what? Bring her back and give her a good life then.
Well, he did eventually when they found him.
But he didn't want to. Like, what was the... Why would you want to give up all of that?
Because it's basically like the I'm Chuck Bass. He like thought he had to... Like, he's like, I am an evil, bad person. I don't want to be that anymore.
That's so weird.
It is a little weird.
He's so strange. Like, I think of him the same way I think of Serena, where I'm like, he gets into these cycles perpetually, where it's just like, why are you doing this again?
Yeah.
But where Serena, it's with men, with him, it's with his father. Or with like his mother, like with something with the company or his legacy. It's legacy.
It's his legacy. It's his, because it happens with his uncle too. It's his.
He does.
Yeah. It's his.
Was Jack his dad or no? He's not, right?
No.
It's proof like he's not. It's
no.
Bart.
No.
Okay, and what is Bart's problem with him? If you don't hate him because he killed your wife, coming out.
Yeah.
Why do you hate?
Because he's such a disappointment. Because Bart truly is like a fucking bad person, right? Like he's out here murdering people.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. I just don't I don't understand him. Maybe because I'm like such a good person.
Because his like the thing that he always said to Chuck, which I never understood, because Chuck clearly was not
be a man.
No, yeah, he was always like. I think they were trying to do toxic masculinity with him, but it was also like Chuck doesn't have any work ethic, and he just sleeps around, and like he's a failure.
I mean, it doesn't work by the end of the show.
I know, that's what I'm saying. When he comes, and I'm like, Chuck clearly is a good businessman, like a really good businessman, and he's also, that's like. Bart just wanted to hate him because that was the other thing too. He was like, stop sleeping around. And then Chuck is like only into Blair and Bart's like, that's your weakness. And I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
Like Bart is just bitter. Bart is bitter because Chuck is better than him. And he has to punch that. He has to get rid of that.
Yeah. I like that Blair and Chuck share this where they need to get their futures in order before they can be together. Like they need to accomplish this one big goal. So, and it both has to do with like something with their parents. With her, it's taking over her mother's company. With him, it's taking over his father's company.
And it's like setting themselves up in their own right for their future.
And I like that. Yeah. But where I think they deviate from each other, they're like a different kind of Slytherin this way because they are very similar. Except for certain things. So like Blair, I think could come to a point where she could say, I do not need my mother's approval. I do not need my mother's business. I don't need you. And I don't think Chuck ever.
She kind of
has to defeat his father.
No, she kind of does because they do get to the point where Blair is like, I've done my thing as well as I want to. And she's like, and Chuck, you've done your thing as well as you want to. And Chuck's like, no, I haven't done it completely. Like he refuses because he's like, I have to do it the exact way that I want to do it.
It's a little bit like Gryffindor-y, the way that he needs to spite or like defeat or take over the parent. Like it's a little, I get like, how it's Slytherin from Blair, but for him, it's because
Blair's is different. Like Blair doesn't have this issue with Blair is trying to get her mom to see her as she is. Like Blair's mom is not giving her due as like a powerful woman. Like that's what Blair needs. Chuck's thing is like, I need to like supersede what has come before me. He's like, he
also wants his father to love him so bad.
I feel like that's the factor, not the outcome. Like the outcome that he wants is like he wants to prove that he is the owner of Bass Enterprises and he can run this thing. Like I can't. Oh my god, I was Lily when she was like, "I'm gonna take the company from you." Like fuck you, Lily. Like you signed that thing for him to help him when Jack was being an asshole, and now you're gonna be a fucking asshole. I know. And I felt so bad for Chuck at this point too because his mother turned out to be a giant dick who didn't want anything to do with him. His father's been a dick his whole life. He's like, Lily, you're the only one I can trust because you've actually demonstrated to me that I can trust you and that you love me. She's like, I'm doing this for your own good, Charles. I'm like you've done to your other children where you keep them locked up in like a psych ward and your daughter who you've made a man go to jail for. Like Lily, Lily's a bad person. She's ruined people's lives with no thought
fully
for their own.
Doesn't care at all.
Does not care. No thought.
She's like, but that's what a mother would do for her. Like no, bitch, it's not. You're insane.
Yeah.
But for Chuck, I get like parts of his motivation are like, I need to supersede my father. I need to take over my father. Blah 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 blah. But it's also this weird reverence and respect for his father. He's always like, my father's legacy. Until Lily, of all people, is like, it's your legacy. Right. He really doesn't snap out of that, and even at the end, he wants to be in a partnership with his dad.
Well, I think
like he wants them to do it together.
Yeah,
so bad.
I think with it, like again, it comes back to like Chuck knows himself very well, and like he like I think that's Chuck's growth going from like I'm like this awful, disgusting person to like I actually like myself. Sure. Like I still know myself very well, but I actually like myself now. I think I don't know why he does this. Maybe it's because like they put so much stock in legacy and like he put so much stock in his name. Like he's always like, I'm Chuck Bass. Like the Bass name is like this huge thing. So I think like he has some need to like connect this new version of himself with the business. And like he makes the business his own thing too, right? Like he buys the burlesque club and then he buys his own hotel instead of like having his dad's hotel. So like he's making it his own thing. And I feel like the final stamp is him like, I need the pass down from like the older generation to the new one or whatever. So he like, I don't like, I literally think that's all it is. Like he just needed a good job and he would have been done. Like
he did. And his father gives it to him and you see him be so happy and then he takes it away. He's like, actually, you're a little bitch boy.
Yep.
You deserve nothing.
And then he goes off the side of the building like he should. So
yeah, perfect. I really just like the Slytherin aspect to both Chuck and Blair where they need to be established on their own before they jump into something, because you see that in contrast with the Gryffindor, with Serena, who is not like a very common... Gryffindors don't all do this, okay? It's not every Gryffindor, but on the whole, I feel confident in saying many of us like indulgence.
Yeah.
And she just goes like way over the top with it. So she's never going to be like, we should wait. In fact, when Nate wants to wait, she takes it as a personal insult, like, you don't fucking want me? Okay, fine. I'm going to go fuck Damien. Like, immediate spite and whatever. Where Chuck and Blair, they can wait. They can establish themselves. They don't just jump head first, dive straight in.
I also think it's very Slytherin that they are, like, even when they date somebody else, they're always extremely confident that it's going to be them too. Like, when... Blair is literally walking down the aisle to marry Louis. Chuck is like, I'm going to end up with her. Like, I don't care. Yeah, but it's also like, I forgot that this happened, but you can see it when they start getting scared about the games they're playing too. When she's like about to marry Louis and he's like, okay, Blair, like you took the game. Like, I get it. You can live without me. Okay, let's stop. And she's like, no, this is real, Chuck. Like, it's not a game.
You have to let me try to be a princess. Yep. I need this. They're just, it's such an interesting dynamic. They're so well suited and well matched for each other, which I always like seeing two houses that are the same in a relationship and seeing how that works. And I think they're the most Slytherin you could be. Like their Slytherin feeds off the other one's Slytherin and they become a Slytherin fucking monster.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think the only one, I don't remember if it's the only other double house pairing we've seen, but we've seen Sylvie and Loki are the other Slytherin.
We've had Gryffindors.
That's right.
Never Hufflepuff.
Mm-mm.
Interesting.
Or Ravenclaw. I can't even picture.
I'm so excited to get to that whenever we do.
Yeah, I can't wait to analyze that.
Ooh. Are you sure?
I don't think we have.
Never?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Anyway, Chuck obviously was a Slytherin. I don't want to hear any backlash on that. I don't hear any backlash on any of these. Okay, so far these are very, very obvious. But when we get to fucking Dan Humphrey, take a second right now and just think. What house is he in? Just think to yourself. Okay? You don't have to use our logic of sorting if you don't want to, the correct logic of sorting.
Uh-huh.
Just use like the basic one. What do you think he is? Because he's like very clearly one house.
Yeah.
Very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
To a point where it's laughable. He's all the bad traits of this house. It's wild.
Apologize to this house.
None of the good ones.
Apologize to this house in advance.
Well, he has none of the good qualities of your house. So if you are a Hufflepuff, okay?
But
I'm so sorry that you have this man.
If you do some of these things, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. He just uses them in a bad way.
No. It is bad if you write a blog about your friends and family.
Some of his qualities are like general qualities that he uses badly.
Yeah. So don't do the things he does.
Don't do the exact
because
things
they make him a bad person. He so hard from day one others all of these people, all of the Upper East Side, completely others them while wanting to belong so bad. And it is the craziest hypocritical thing. It is wild. I don't know if I see this in Hufflepuffs. Like, I see Hufflepuffs who really want to belong somewhere and make that work and make that home. They do that without othering people. Like, they just make it work. It's like Dan equally hated and loved them so much. It's just a pure resentment.
So weird. Like,
it is so strange.
Towards the end of the show, I was so mad for Nate because Nate did so much for Dan, and Nate had done nothing to him in the long. Like, Nate is the most inoffensive member of the group. Like, he's kind of he kind of just chills and does his thing. Like, sometimes he snaps and it's like something bad happens, and then he almost immediately like actually feels bad about it. But he's like doing his own thing. Like, his dad's in jail. He's worried about his family who are like conniving fuckheads who won't get out of his life. Like Nate's doing his own thing, and like he helps out his friends.
Can I ask what Dan has to bitch about? Because his dad has a killer loft in Brooklyn, which is not cheap. He's an amazing father to him. He gives him everything he wants.
Yeah,
He's
gets
paying
to go
for
to
his
the school. Yeah, he gets to go to like a elite high school. Like, no. But I was so mad for Nate at the end of the show where Nate like is just chilling, doing his own thing, trying to run his newspaper, and Dan is like, fuck your newspaper and fuck you for letting me stay in your house, and here's an article slandering you because you're a boy hoe bag. I was like, what?
This is like about as evil as a Hufflepuff can get, where they just straight up explode.
The amount of like, he was living in Nate's house when that article came out. He was crashing because his father had kicked him out, and he put out that article slandering Nate, who had done nothing to him. Like, the amount of othering that you have to do on a friend who is helping you. Like, even a Slytherin would never do that because they need a fucking place to stay. Like, they would. But he just. Yeah. It's
like a wild amount of audacity that he had. And he is completely fine with it.
And he's so fucking infuriating about it when Nate confronts him and it's like, you have to get out of my house. And Dan's like, yeah, I expected that. And I don't regret what I did, and I'd do it again. Goodbye. I would punch him.
What about?
And he did. When Nate did punch him.
Nate did. It's like the thing that tipped me over into loving Nate. What about when he's at the bar? Like, he meets Serena when he's with Georgina. And she's just like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, what's wrong with me? This has always been what you've been exactly like, you stupid bitch. And she's like, you know, the worst part, Dan, is that you're enjoying it. Like, I see it on you. You're enjoying this right now. And Dan's like, I am. Tell Georgina to send my next appointment to the bathroom. Bye. Like, he becomes such a bitch in that last season. I don't know what happened.
He snapped. He snapped.
But, like,
he snapped because Blair broke up
sent him over. Well, Blair, you know what? Blair didn't even, like, do it. She just ran. Like, she pulled a Serena a little
and that's
bit.
What, no, she didn't. She didn't pull a Serena. That's what I was so mad about, too. That Dan was like, and like, here's the thing about Dan too. Like, he prides himself on being the writer who knows his characters, right? So he knows all his characters really well. So he's like he's going, this is where Hufflepuffs like can tread a little into like that Slytherin where they're like, I know where people fit really well, right? So he knows his characters. He knows where they fit. He knows Blair is for Chuck. He knows. He goes into the relationship knowing it. And I know somewhere in the back of the head, he's hoping he's being a little bit Serena, like, I can fix her. Like, I can be the better guy for her. Like, she'll pick me because I'm the better guy. And she doesn't. Sure. She goes back to Chuck because she's always going to go back to Chuck. And Chuck Dan fucking says, it's always going to be Chuck. And Blair's like, you're right. Yeah. I'm really sorry about it. And
no. What happens is he texts her and he says, if you care about me at all, like, you'll show up and you'll tell me how you really feel. And that night she talks to her mother and she says, I have to make this decision. And then she gets in the limo and she goes to Chuck and she's like, she tells Dan later after the fact.
She does,
like,
but
he's like, you didn't even come and tell me. And she's like, I was going to after I spoke to Chuck. And I like had the decency that I was going to do it. And he's like, well, that counts for shit because you didn't do it. So now I'm going to burn everyone alive. That's like exactly what happened. He's just burning them all. He burns it all down.
Yeah, it's a Hufflepuff that like feels, and like here's the thing, it's been building for Dan because he's felt slighted the entire time, right? Like he fucking names himself Lonely Boy. Resentment. So like, so he feeds into it. But yeah, he's like, it's this otherness that he feels in himself the whole time. He's trying so hard to fit. And I think that's also part of their resentment too, because he doesn't necessarily want to be a part of this world. He's forced to because that's the thing too. He could have gone to the high school and like not cared. He could have just done his thing and had his economic prowess and then like gone to college and then like gone on, right? But he fell in love with Serena because she smiled at him on the street, and that's just how people fall in love with Serena. So he falls in love with Serena and he's like, I'm going to be a part of that world. And he creates this Gossip Girl blog so he has an excuse to talk about Serena and about all his classmates. And then fucking psycho. At the end of the show, when they're explaining all this and they're like, Serena came back after being at that boarding school in Connecticut or whatever, Serena came back and Dan's voiceover is like, so I wrote myself into my own story. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's batshit. You wrote yourself into like what?
Like, that's the first post that Gossip Girl ever made about Lonely Boy. I was like, what? So he was treating this blog like a story. Like, these weren't real people. They were not real people. Yeah.
The level of othering that you have to do to look at human beings like they are not human beings, they're playthings in a story you're writing, while you're going to school and living amongst them and like trying to further your career as a writer,
trying to date them or be friends with them,
using your little puppets to succeed in your own life. And like everyone calls him out for his hypocrisy. Yeah, everyone. They're all like, nice chip on your shoulder, Dan. Like you want to come down from your fucking high horse, maybe. In a second, like for like 5 minutes. And he's like, yeah, all right, I know I'm pretentious. I know. Anyway, I'm going to continue being pretentious. None of you are real people to me. Yeah. You are all my playthings. That's actually what's going on. And it's that. And I don't know how to describe this for Hufflepuff, but he wants to like own Serena. He wants Serena to belong to him. It's not like a respectful, I'm going to meet her in the middle and we're going to have this great mutual respect relationship. Like, no, he covets her. It's bizarre. And
that's Serena says it too, where she's like, you want me to be something that I am not. And like, she's like, and I have made it clear to you who I am. So I don't understand what you're yelling at me about. Like
he's like, everything's so fucking easy for you, Serena. And she's like, yeah. And I let you into my world. Oh, no, it's your world. Yeah. I guess I'm going to write myself into it. Okay. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, she's like, we can just go to a bar. We could play pool. I don't know what you're doing. Like, you want to go to the fancy restaurant.
Like, yeah.
You want to wear the expensive clothes.
And she was like, and I paid for your food. And he gets so mad about it. And she's like, Dan, like, you don't have to be like, I'm not treating you like a kept boy. Just like, if you want to go to fancy restaurants, I have the ability to let us do that. Like, you don't have to.
Right.
Like, you know, like
why don't you be more like your dad? He's fine with it. But no, he's from.
Oh my God. And then I got so mad because Dan insults his dad in that way. He's like, I don't want to be some little kept boy. And his dad's like, what the fuck?
Like, what did I ever do for you except literally give you everything in the world? You're such a prick. Rufus's kids are such assholes.
They are, to him specifically. Like, what did he ever do to them? Like,
except try to give them a good life.
No, they blame him because he put them in that high school. And they're like, you gave me poor kid
Make
clothes.
Make better choices, bitches.
You put me in high school with rich kids.
Oh my God. And it's so sad at the end when Rufus is confronting him. He's like, you did all of these things. And Dan's like, yeah.
And I'll do them again. Yeah.
He's like, I'll do it again. He's like, and his dad's like,
he doesn't say he doesn't say I made everyone better for it. He's like, yeah, I did it and I got away with it and nobody's going to stop me and I'm going to keep doing it.
But he goes, I always tried to do the right thing. When, bitch?
Yeah. That's the thing about Dan, that he thinks he's some arbiter of like how to be good, like how to be like the best. Like, I'm making these characters the best that they can be because I'm teaching them lessons by showing them how horrible they are. It's going to push them to be better, and they're going to be like me, and they're going to be so good. Like, that's the thing that I think, like, that pushed him too, because, like, he's writing this blog, and I think he sees himself as, like, subtly manipulating people, right? He's like, by calling out their little things, I'm, like, pushing them to where they need to go to ultimate, like, betterment. Like, they're going to be better for it. And so, like, when he explodes at the end, he's like, I'm just going to write this giant-ass book where I'm going to be like, fucking fix yourself. And, like, it's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
It's always done in this.
His book is also incredibly fucking outdated because none of them are like that at that point. Like.
I know. It is weird. It is a little weird. But it works. It works for him. He's very, like, it's something that Hufflepuffs do. It's like a quiet
vengeance
sort of thing where you pull strings and you allow people to explode on their own. Like you just like push the first domino.
That whole thing where like they know where they fit in the community because it's never just one person. You get the community around them to kind of implode like at the same time. Like it's never like Slytherins are like manipulating one people or like, you know, maybe several or a couple people that are like all connected. Hufflepuffs are like pushing that button that's like, where do you belong in your community? And I'm going to push one little button that makes you unable to belong in that space. And so like the entire community implodes because they lose that role. And the person who's in the role is like, I can no longer do it. Like for some reason.
Yeah. And it's fun for him to
watch. It is. It's fun for him to watch. He's interested in it. He's like, and then he goes in as Dan Humphrey and gives his little advice about how.
Here's the thing: if he was just observing, it would be very Slytherin or Ravenclaw the entire thing.
No, but he's
like
written himself into it because
he wants in.
He sees his role as like the good guy. He's the most toxic version of like I am a good guy. Like, why don't you date me, Serena? I'm a good guy. Yeah. He is the most toxic.
Well, the way she's a pick-me, so is he. He's a pick-me.
Yes, it's the most toxic version of that. Like, I don't understand why you won't be my friend or why you won't date me because I'm such a nice guy. Like, I do such nice things.
They both believe they can change people to, like, here's the thing, though. Serena believes she can change people for, like, the better.
Yeah, and
to
also
better themselves,
because,
and then
like,
she'll take
she
the credit.
cares about them. Like,
and she cares. Dan is like, I don't understand what he's doing. I actually don't.
No, he literally is like, he's like fascinated in this rich kid community and he's like, how can I get in it? And how can I make them do what I want? And what I want is to make them what I consider to be better. So he goes in and infiltrates. Like that's what I'm saying. That's what his role is. That is what he sees himself as. He is like a community infiltrator, as like the nice guy. Like that's what he is.
Trojan horse.
Like I would say that his true community is his family. The Humphreys are a very like a unit. They're very like tight knit, like familial.
Yeah, but he wanted to be part of it. He never really gives up on that. No. Until, like, Jenny leaves and then you see him start to branch out a little.
No, I think this is how I consider Dan. I think he, like, fake fits into communities. Like, he doesn't really care about being part of the rich kids. He just wants them to respect him. So he, like, infiltrates them in order to get that like, he doesn't actually want to be. He wants
Serena. That's the whole thing at the end of it.
That's why I say it's so fake weird. And it's like it's infiltrating. He's not trying to become a part of her community. He's trying to take her into his. Like, against her. Like, it's not a Dean Cass situation where Cass realizes on his own that he would rather be a part of Dean's community.
And he hates that she won't be taken. Yes. And he's just, and so when she says things like, I let you in, like, I got you in here, I brought you into my world, it's so insulting to him. He's like, you didn't do fucking shit.
That's, and also
I made my blog. Yeah, I made you, actually.
And that's also why he's pissed too, because he's like, I don't even want to be here. Like, I'm taking you fucking back to where I want to go. So.
Right. It's so strange. It's like an ownership thing all the way around. He's like, you all got to where you needed to be because I did it. I kept you relevant. It was all me. So, in fact, get the shock off your face and fucking say thank you because I made you. Like, that's actually the whole vibe of him the last season and the last episode. And he's so, like, if you put different music over that last episode with him, that big reveal, and then her walking down the stairs and getting married.
Where he says, I wrote myself into the story. I can't every time.
Yeah, you could put music from where he's Joe from You, where he's the serial killer, over it, and him looking at her coming down the staircase, and him, like, just putting overhead, and I won.
You can tell.
All you little fuckers.
You can tell how fucked up it is, too, because Georgina latches onto it, and, like, with what house Georgina... Like, Georgina's clearly getting something much different out of it, but it serves the same purpose. Like, her motivations are different, but it's the same... It's the same...
She's watching him sleep.
It's the same angle. No, I can't... And that's the thing, too, that, like, I don't think...
They're so chaotic.
I don't think the writers intended to do this. Like, I think Dan is a Hufflepuff without knowing he's Gossip Girl. I think you can go back and watch the show for the first time and not have that and be like, Dan is a Hufflepuff. Because without knowing that, it does seem like he wants to be a part of the rich kid community. He wants to be in that role. He wants them to see him as an equal. That's what it looks like he's doing. And then, of course, the Gossip Girl kind of, like, lends new light to that. And you realize what he's actually doing, which is still Hufflepuff. But he's Hufflepuff without Gossip Girl. So, like, that's the thing, too, that I don't think the writers realized they did this when they got to the end of the show. And they were like, oh, shit, somebody has to be Gossip Girl. Because making Dan Gossip Girl truly changes his character and his motivations are the same. It sheds an evil light on them. Like, a couple of the characters say this, and when I watched the show, I thought that this is what they were going to do. If Derota were Gossip Girl isn't really that evil.
It's so funny.
It's just somebody who works for rich people and is tired of their bullshit and is,
and that's fair.
And
roast them.
And and that would have been fine, but the writers were like, we're going to make it Dan, and it makes all of his motivations immediately like, you are
creepy,
a bad person. Like, you're...
Yeah.
And the explanation that they give for why he did it, and oh my God.
It's very sinister.
Mm-hmm.
It actually genuinely is.
Yeah, like I would be scared if I were them. That I've known this person for 5 years, and they've been doing this.
Yeah. And, like, because... It's one thing to have the blog. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one thing to just be the kind of person to do that. It's another to be acting the entirety of my friendship with you for 5 years. Every time we get a blast, you have to pretend to be shocked. Every time a tip goes in, every time
or you're like running around like accusing people of blasting you, like for something that you didn't want leaked.
It's actually
or like
evil.
Okay, no, this is when Gossip Girl reports Serena for buying a pregnancy test, and then Dan goes after her for not like the fact that Dan got that tip and knew what it was and knew that Serena wasn't actually pregnant, and then still went after her that hard for the entire episode is actually like it's like mental and emotional abuse on Serena. Like
it is. It actually is abusive. No, I fully believe that. And like, what the fuck? Everyone's looking for her, and she overdosed in some hotel room, and like people don't know where she is, and like they have to like bribe a Gossip Girl to figure out like you have to tell us where Serena is. We're so worried, and you fucking knew. That is so creepy, Dan. Like, it's like
that's the thing too, that
he's wearing a mask the whole time. It's so
when he finally
weird.
stops being Gossip Girl, he stops because Blair and Chuck had an accident, and Chuck almost dies, and Blair loses her baby.
Right.
So apparently, this is enough for Dan's conscience.
Just humanizes him
to be like, I can't be Gossip Girl anymore.
My God. But what I think is so scary about him, it's in the last episode when they're all talking about this. You would expect someone to like get a little red in the face, look like a little ashamed of themselves.
He's like, yeah, no,
even
I did
apologize.
He's like, and I'll do it again.
Does Dan even say I'm sorry?
He's like, I'll do it again in a couple of years.
No. Yep. He's not actually sorry at all. He's just like, yeah,
like,
it was me.
Well, you all ended up where you wanted to end up, and I've ended up where I wanted to end up. So, yeah.
I'm so smart, guys. Like, look at how smart I was the entire time. And you all just will continue to be my friend. And I win. Like, he actually says to Blair, I actually had more power than you the whole time. Oops. It's so creepy. How is that not Georgina level shit?
It is.
That's Georgina level shit.
But even Georgina was Gossip Girl for quite a bit of time. And she wasn't like that.
No, not to that level. Not to be, like, in it and having relationships and deep connections and
no, because Georgina does not care about any of them. Like, all she cares about is ruining their lives. She doesn't want to like be a part of it.
But that's what makes it sick. If he didn't care about them and he was just exposing them and like having fun being a dick, okay. But you're in there, you're a son, you're a brother, you're a lover, you're a friend, you're a confidant, and you're doing this? And all in the interest of like getting this girl at the end of it. But then, like, you're dating her best friend and your best friend and, like, all these other, like, random little pieces and acting like you're above it all and that you are so much better than them and then saying it to their faces like, wow, you should really
it's such a level of othering. Like, I don't even know. Yeah. I really do think he's like, you're all my characters and that's just how I'm better than you. It's by virtue of me having created you.
The entire time. It's like I said before, he's just looking at all of them and being like, you owe this to me. So there's no apology. That's what's so sick and scary. He's not sorry. And he marries her. And he's in forever. Ew.
What? There's such a gap, too. What are they doing for, like, the 5 years it takes them to get married?
Blair has a baby. That's it. She has a 5-year-old.
Yeah. So it takes them, like, 5 years to get married. Like, why did Dan and Serena hold off?
They both needed therapy. So maybe, hopefully, they got to fix the problems that
well,
they have.
Supposedly Dan is some, like, famous fucking author. That's what they said in the new Gossip Girl.
He should be shunned from the writer
community. You really should.
For writing a gossip blog. You're a glorified Perez Hilton, you fucking weirdo. Ugh. Well, he's sick. He's sick. Ugh. He's the worst Hufflepuff we've ever encountered.
I asked her, I was like, worse than Regina, who committed genocide.
From Once Upon a Time, who commits genocide. Yeah, like she actually kills people. Yeah, he's worse because Regina grows and apologizes.
And she knows she was wrong for that genocide.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like just admitting it, being like, I am the evil queen. Like, no, Dan doesn't even admit that it was wrong or like that he is an evil person. He's like, I'm still better than you. I am the good person here. Are you weirdos not getting this yet? Like, I'm better than you. And it not in any way where it's like, I loved being the villain like Georgina does. It's just like, now accept me. Accept it.
Yeah.
You will take it.
And that's the thing too. He's like, accept it because what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to shun me now. Like, so what are you going to do? You have to. You just have to. Sorry. Live with it.
And they let him get away with it. He's a demon. I was rewatching this the first time I saw it. I've only seen the show twice in my life. So the first time I didn't know who Gossip Girl was. I thought Dan was annoying and pretentious in like a Brooklyn hipster way.
Rachel's just hates
but
Brooklyn.
Not evil. I'm from one of the 5 boroughs. I can shit talk the other ones. He wasn't evil to me. And then even at the reveal, I think I was just so shocked that I still
didn't really think about the implication of like what.
Didn't really think about it. Now going back and just knowing it. Shit he says about Jenny. I don't care if he says Jenny knew. The shit he said about her. Shit he says about Blair. Shit he says about Serena. His father's marriage. His stepmother. his Vanessa, who he claims to love so much. What the fuck? Himself.
That's that's what? The other thing too. That Vanessa, I know what house I think she is, but Vanessa is kind of the same as Dan, where she's like, I don't want to be a part of this.
But I want to belong.
Yeah, exactly. They're but so Vanessa, like the reason that Dan and Vanessa aren't really friends anymore is because Vanessa is trying to do the same thing as Dan is, but in a much like more humane way. And Dan is like, you suck at this and you're bad at it, so I don't want to be associated with you. He's literally just like, I'm better at this than you, and I don't have time to drag you around with me anymore. Like that.
Yeah. It actually is literally that. That's really fucking sick. I don't know. He exposes like even the audacity of the entire thing with Jenny and Chuck, how he goes in there, guns blazing, like worried big brother, and punches him. Meanwhile, on Gossip Girl, and they'll never guess what little Jay did. Like, just the way he talks about it and the way he behaves, the juxtaposition is so scary. So scary. Like, whatever. This is just a man. This is what men do.
A nice guy.
That's all I'm going to say
nice
about
guy.
it. That nice guy. That is so creepy. I really think that You on Netflix is just Dan Humphrey's life. I think Serena's dead. I think he killed her. And
you don't think Serena? I think I think she's a bit Serena in A Simple Favor.
I love hearing that. Oh my god, is that character Griffin? That was so good. Oh my god, they're both such weirdos. And Chuck and Blair are exactly the same.
Yeah. They're all bad people. They're all bad people. They're just bad people.
But I just enjoyed some more than others. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like
I don't enjoy Dan at all.
Yeah.
Enjoy Blair for the most part. I enjoy Chuck because, again, it's like a funny thing. Like, you people are ridiculous. It's so funny. And I enjoy Serena when she's owning who she is. Dan, never. Even when I agree with him on something, never enjoy it. I'm like, ugh, I guess you're right. Piece of shit, human garbage. And I see people online, because I was like on Twitter about it. I'm like, I know it's an old show, but I wonder what people are saying about it. And even now today, people are just like, oh, I just love season 5 because it's Dan and Blair. Like, why do you want her with that psychopath? I don't care. She uses him for personal growth, great, and then she grows from it. But she should never actually be with him long term because he's genuinely a psychopath.
I think it's because like more up front, Chuck is the bad person, right? Especially because he says it so much.
Yeah, but like, use common sense. No, I'm sorry, Dan's actually worse. To go to that level, it's, again, I understand Chuck has been a bad person. There's no excuse for the things Chuck has done. And if you don't forgive him or like him as a character because of them, good on you. But you cannot, in good conscience, then ship Blair with Dan and be like, this should have been the end couple. When he is such a manipulative psychopath. He is so creepy with her. He uses things against her. He actively searches for Gossip Girl with her while they're in a relationship while he's fucking her. That is sick. That's sick. There's nothing cute about them. Like, I love a good enemies to lovers. I loved the beginning of their thing. I also enjoyed it, even hating him. I was like, this is cute. Like, I love when characters do this. And, like, he's bringing her down to earth and she's going to bring him up a little bit. Like, I liked that aspect of it because I just like the trope. But when you know what Dan Humphrey is, you shouldn't want him with anyone. I think he's in general good for Serena's need to be loved and seen and known. Like, of course you need to be with your stalker. Feel validated. But I'm not happy for her at the end of the day.
She's going to end up buried in his basement.
Correct. That is the ending of Gossip Girl. It ended in murder. I'm telling you, it did. He's too crazy. I told you guys in the beginning, I really hate this man. I hate him. I was telling Haley, she's never seen Gossip Girl. I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to just rip on this Hufflepuff. But you know what? Some of us have horrible people in our houses.
All of us do. Every house has horrible people.
Yeah. And I think we just have to accept it. Like, there are certain features of ourselves.
And sometimes there are people that aren't horrible, and they're in our house and we don't like it because it says too much about ourselves. We have to accept that too. Rachel has to accept Edward Cullen. I have to accept Steve Rogers. Like,
even accepting Serena was a little hard.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough for a minute there. I was watching and I was like, girl, God damn it. God damn it. Because you get it. You get it. When you see someone in your house that you don't love, like Steve Rogers, sorry, Hannah, you're watching it and you're like, I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but can you stop?
I was going to say, it's because you connect with them probably hard. Like,
yeah. I'm like ashamed after watching Gossip Girl. Like, I feel dirty. Like, I need to shower because of Serena. But she's so beautiful, Blake Lively, that it makes up for it. Like, for the shame, you know, she's so beautiful to look at. Greek ass
but nobody should connect with the actual villains in their houses. You should get that checked.
No. I hope you don't connect with Dan.
And again, to what I said at the beginning, a lot of the traits that villains have are like general house traits. It's not so much that you share a trait with them, it's that you would then do the exact same thing that they do about it.
Exactly.
So don't do that.
Right. So what I'm saying, relating to a character, I mean doing what the character does.
Yes. If you think they made good choices, then you're probably not.
Friend, come DM us and we're going to walk you through getting some help because you should not do what Dan does. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there are people that are going to come out of the woodwork for this one. Sometimes I wonder, like, when you attack a ship.
I don't know.
And I didn't know Blair and Dan had so many supporters, but they do.
Those must have grown because they didn't when the show was actually on. It was like a subset.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm interested. I don't know how many people have actually thought about the implication of Dan being Gossip Girl. Like, they just watch the show and they have the reveal and they're like, done. You know? How many people actually go back and think about, like, Dan?
Go back. It changed everything for me, like, on a deep, visceral level. I don't know what to do with my life now that I'm over it, and that I've watched it. Next up, we have Mythic Quest. And
Brad, Joe, and David.
I can't wait to talk about them. I can't wait to talk about Brad and Joe specifically. David, David's great too. But Brad and Joe, oh my God, I absolutely cannot wait. So that will be exciting. I don't have any characters that I feel the way about Dan Humphrey that I coming up. So you guys don't have to worry so much about me villainizing a house or a person because this was a rarity. Like, this was really bad for me. I could not believe it. So yes, Mythic Quest will be just a fun and enjoyable.
We're gonna do Mythic Quest, and then it's Hannah's birthday. We're gonna do the third Spider-Man, Andrew Spider-Man, the best one. So,
okay.
Why'd you laugh and say okay like you don't agree?
I don't think he's the best Spider-Man.
You don't think Andrew's the best Spider-Man? You've said that already.
No.
Who do you think is the best one?
Tom.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Andrew's amazing as Spider-Man. I think Tobey is great as Spider-Man. Just not my favorite Spider-Man. I think Tom brings something else to it. I enjoy that little cutie pie. But everyone has a favorite. As long as you're not saying that one sucks, like whatever, I can listen to you. I don't think any of them suck. They're all good in their own ways.
Oh, and then we get to do Thor.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
What?
We'll figure it all out. The schedule. The people don't need to hear it.
Why? I'm not figuring anything out. I'm reading it.
Well, they don't need to know.
They don't?
Don't give them.
I hope you're all fucking watching Kenobi because we're sorting it in August. So.
My birth month.
Yeah.
I should probably watch it then.
You should.
Maybe I'll do
well, you mean
I have to finish.
You should watch it anyway.
I start that.
Start watching.
Anyone out there watching Stranger Things? Did you finish it yet?
Yeah, a lot of people did.
The season's wild.
I saw a lot of people.
Season's wild.
Rachel, I have to start watching The Boys.
Okay. Well, we've reached that time. If I did Gossip Girl in a week, you got to do The Boys.
But you have to watch it with me.
You can do it.
Tell me when to close my eyes.
Well, you're never gonna get through it with me then because I have to watch it weird fucking times. Good luck and Godspeed. Anyway, everyone, I hope you
rate us 5 stars.
Yeah, please do that. We have to feed our
Even if you love Dan Humphrey, you can write it in the comics. I love Dan Humphrey.
Don't.
No, I want their 5 stars.
Go away.
I want their 5 stars.
What the fuck is there to love? You think he's hot?
My friend John likes Dan Humphrey. I think.
Why?
I don't know. I'd have to ask him. He likes Penn Badgley. When we
well, Penn Badgley's
before we knew he was Gossip Girl, you know, like in the later 2000s when everybody had like a celebrity avatar. So like that, so mine was Kristen Bell, and his was Penn Badgley, but he like his only role back then was Dan Humphrey, so it was like I was practically Dan Humphrey.
That's great. I would have loved Dan before too. I liked him very, very much.
I don't know. I'll have to. John, do you still love Dan? DM me and let me know. Anyway, what do you love about him?
God, why? God, why? All right. Thank you so much for listening, guys. This has been 2 hours of Gossip Girl. Yep. And we'll catch you on the flippity flop. See you later.
XOXO.
XOXO. Thank you for listening to Sort of Brilliant. If our sorting choices inspired any rage or excitement, we'd love to hear from you. We're open to feedback, suggestions for characters to sort, and solid counter-arguments with citations.
Never forget your citations. You can find us hanging out on Twitter and Instagram at SOB_pod or shoot us an email at sortofbrilliant@gmail.com.
And since we're not above begging, please rate and subscribe to Sort of Brilliant on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please share our posts on social media. And if you're a Gryffindor, maybe you'll inspire sorting fights among your own friend group.
The theme music is Hot Shot by Scott Holmes. Can't wait to sort with you again next time. Bye!